I like him as a former player, but also just as a person, I think that he is good for teams. So as we dive into the draft here, let's see who is going to rise to the challenge here today in our first match, as we have Sejuani and the Ezreal both banned away. Gwen, of course, not necessarily as ridiculous as she was, but she's still ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like the Ezreal priority has been rising up a pretty decent amount. I've seen some play from him in recent days. I feel like at the start of the season, we were leaning heavily towards a lot of these, immobile carries, lots of lane pressure, like your Viruses, your MFs, your Jins, your Ashes. Varus is still a really high prior ban, but moving away a little. And speaking of which, Varus and Kalista still open and available, which are two of our most banned. Varus is going to get taken away by Brion. Will it just be the Kalista ban from the DM Freaks? I would imagine so.
Yeah, Neferi not necessarily needing to be banned as much. Yone's still going to be taken away, and he was kind of kneecapped on this patch, am I right?
Yeah, I think it's hard to scope out because the change definitely hits. Again, in some matchups, in team fights, makes it harder. But especially, I think, if you're against Closer, a lot of respect given with that Yone ban.
Yep.
Kalista going to come through as first pick, no real surprise. Shared highest ban rate with Varus going into this series, so
I would pick there. Would we pick Renata in something to try and deny it, or do we think that we have an answer to the Renata? Because Kalista Renata is still pretty bonkers.
Kalista Renata is really bonkers. It's really frustrating to leave that open. And although you can play like ranged supports into Renata, definitely still a risk. And they've opted to try and prioritize this Azir for Bulldog and the Skarner for Pioshik, so putting priority on those mid-jungle picks. But this means that Brion has the opportunity to take the Renata and pair that up.
Yep. And Hype and Polu certainly going to be no strangers to playing this particular duo, although you do expect Polu on more of your engage supports rather than necessarily something with a little bit more range. You still can play her pretty engage heavy, as especially with Fate's Call, you do have ways to start fights. You follow things up with hostile takeovers and stuff like that. But very obviously, the Renata is going to be locked in. And one final lock-in here. Maybe for Morgan, maybe for Closer. We'll see who is going to have the benefit of this third pick on blue side for the bros.
Could just grab Renekton. I think Xin Zhao makes more sense, but Morgan grabbing Renekton kind of felt like his vibe.
Yep.
Xin Zhao syncs well, I think, with Renata. He always pairs well with those Enchanter sort of picks. A lot of skirmishing power. And the DM Freaks fully committing onto that top side right now. Go in the Rumble, and this does kind of hurt their damage profile a good amount if they lock this in.
We've seen so many of this top side in the last few days of the LCK that it's going to be locked in one more time. I'm kind of with you. I feel like putting all of the AD, I guess, responsibility onto Berserker is kind of rough. But Berserker has certainly been one of the better players for DN Freaks and someone that they have been able to lean on.
My concern here is it means if your AD carry falls behind, you can be in a bit of a hole, and they're playing into Kalista Renata, so not really easy outs on that one. It also makes it easy for top side to prioritize early MR. There's the Ahri ban come out, obviously super high priority, that Bruiser Ahri that we have seen.
Yep. I think this is looking pretty good for the bros, though. I'm with you. I'm a bit worried for what the DN Freaks top side is going to look like. It feels in this draft like the approach from the DN Freaks is if we just ignore it, I'm sure the problem will go away.
Yeah, it's certainly an approach. We see the Nico ban come out, obviously something we see picked a lot into the Renata in that matchup, trying to deny those range supports. I also feel like maybe like a Poppy ban could be good just because of the value it has. Talia ban makes complete sense in terms of that mid lane champion pool. It's basically Ahri, Talia, Azir at the top, and a little bit of drop off before the rest. So we'll be able to deny that one away.
Berserker's pick, I feel like this whole draft hinges around what Berserker's going to get his hands on and whether it's going to be enough. They have banned 2 supports instead of trying to pinch that AD carry pool even further. So the Misfortune up and available. I mean, that has been exactly what we've seen from almost every other team. I think T1 played basically this exact composition with like a Rel Misfortune on the bottom side, or it was a Rakan Misfortune or something, as far as I can recall. But the Caitlyn is being considered. That would certainly have a bit of self-peel potential, a lot of range available. and in the late game a lot of consistent damage. That will be locked in here for Berserker.
Yeah, and then you have the option of pairing it with something like a Lux, which obviously does really well into, or any kind of range support. Bernard does really well in the melee supports, range supports, which you pair with Caitlyn.
Yep.
Not so much, but it does mean Brion going to lock in the Ambessa Aurora. Closer had fantastic Aurora performances, even though the pick has been struggling a little bit in the LCK generally, and Ambessa is one of those top laners. Karma going to come through. So a little bit more stable, I would say, than the Lux. Like, Lux Caitlyn's super good because of the trap potential, but if you're not sharp on the skill shots, you know, Lux is all skill shots, even though they're easily hit. But I think there's nothing easier to hit than a Karma Mantra Q.
Yeah, and you can also do the Mantra Inspire and just turn Pyoshik into a rocket, and then he can start fights for you. Because a lot of the issue with what DN Freaks have put together now is that there is a decent lack of engage opportunity. With a slight range advantage in the Caitlyn, they might be able to mitigate it, and you can then, you know, throw equalizers around and you can guard areas with traps. But I think DN Freaks, if they lose control of this game, it might be impossible to get it back.
I think if Caitlyn falls behind, the game might just be over. But if they do manage to find a lead, they obviously have the Skarner, who's a solid frontliner. They have a lot of range in their composition, so again, I think the early game is going to be super important, particularly that bot lane 2v2. Obviously, lane swap's gone now for a while, but I feel like this is the sort of lane matchup where really it's down to your 2v2 performance. There's no just weathering the storm. If you're falling behind in either of these matchups, either of these pairings, you're going to have a bad time.
You are. Having a look, a quick check-in on the Twitch predictions. Currently like 75% Bro favored. When it comes to Bro predictions, you don't know whether that is they actually think Bro are going to win or whether they're just dedicated to the cause.
They always believe.
And I think that, you know, this is doable. I think that there are a lot of things that can be worrying here for the DN Freaks. See what happens. We dive under the rift. All right, the DN Freaks have definitely come to yell here today at LOL Park. That was deafening, and you love to hear it. As the Bros setting up pretty defensively now, no one with too many of these deep wards. But I think that, like, if this is ever going to be the Bro Game 1 win, it's today. It's here. It's with this draft. I think it's crafted beautifully for mid-game domination, and that's exactly where the DN Freaks can find themselves the weakest, right? With a Caitlyn on the roster and then otherwise a purely magic damage profile can be a little bit worrying, you could say.
This could end up being, though, for DN Freaks, one of those sort of win lane, win game. Like, a lot of these things we talk about, like damage profiles, they're just not that important when you're ahead. And you think of the concept of, like, Kalista who's behind, and Aurora who's behind, and Ambessa who's behind. That's the win con for the DN Freaks. So win lane, win game definitely feels like a direction they can head towards.
Yeah, let's see what Life's going to be able to get done here with his first Mantra Q. And throws it at Polu, and it doesn't even Mantra it to start things off. Really playing conservatively. I think that's all right. It's Polu taking a bit of damage here. Berserker trying to utilize that range. Grabbing a bunch of these headshots, and there is that Mantra that you were talking about. Not able to get the second proc, but already Polu drinking the potions and feeling the hurt. And if this lane does get outranged, you can find yourself in a little bit of trouble.
Yep. Absolutely. I think it gets a little bit better at level 3 because you can threaten all in. You have the handshake, you have the bailout from Renata, so even if they put a lot of burst down, it's hard to like finish off the Kalista in those extended fights, but with how things are going, this is kind of what you expect for the lane. Outranged, unable to lock into those longer trades, and they should be able to pick up some minions pretty decently on the tower, but playing against Caitlyn on the tower is always so scary. Not just the damage obviously she does to tower, but those traps being set up make it so hard to walk anywhere. You can see Hype very carefully navigating between them.
Yeah, managing to bounce over one of them here. That was quite nicely done. Gets a little bit of pierce damage on the Berserker there at the same time. So let's just see whether Bro are going to be able to navigate this one effectively. One good thing is that Humbug is pathing towards the bottom side of the map, so maybe a possibility to get something happening. Hype right now is just doing his very best to find a minion, and he's found 7. And there's been a couple of waves so far, and it's not looking too hot.
Yep, not a great start, but has kept up an XP, which I think is the main thing. Both junglers pathing down towards bot, which is 100% the right call. You need to cover your Caitlyn Karma if it's going to succeed.
Yep, and you need to stay as aggressively positioned as possible. So if you start playing into the fact that there might be a jungler there, then you're not doing your job. So nicely played there by Pioshik. You can see Humbug just going for a full clear and then heading towards the topside scuttle, as Pioshik is already here waiting for the bottom side one. Although, do have Humbug now considering a move towards Bulldog, but that one's watered out very nicely. When Becomes Lightning will come through and actually immediately follows up, just does a bit of damage here, and otherwise will head towards the northern scuttle.
You know, those are the ganks that annoy me the most, where the enemy jungler knows you're not going to die. You know you're not going to die, but he just comes in and just messes your day up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, just a bit of damage. You were laning fine, you're having a good time, you're trying to find advantages, and then he just comes over and does like 200 damage to you, and it's like, well,
yeah,
thanks.
it's the vibes gank.
Yeah.
Just ruins the vibes completely.
Honestly, the worst is when it's like a Nidalee, and she doesn't even hit the spear, but she just autos you 3 times with red buff.
Yeah.
That grinds my gears.
Yeah, misses the spear and then casually pounces on your face and does half the health.
And then heals the enemy laner as well.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that can't handle it.
Yep.
That's how you crash out.
And you wasted a bunch of mana trying to hurt the Nidalee, and then she just walks away.
Yeah.
Oh, very frustrating. Anyway, it isn't really going to affect Bulldog too much. He just teleports back to lane. Does give Closer a little bit of a tempo advantage, you could say, but he is going to do the same thing imminently. And so no harm, no foul. Currently, it's about a 300 gold lead here for DNF. That is, in fact, all on Berserker, as we can see.
And they're going to get another play here. So things really going well in the bot lane. Hype and Polo not finding any windows.
Ow.
No ganks able to come through, and Closer, though, putting some hurt down onto Bulldog.
That's the Aurora classic trade. If you land all of the buttons, it just does a lot of damage.
His Aurora in the LCK Cup was just something else.
And that was when we did think that Aurora was completely broken, as, speaking of which, Closer is going...
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. He just can't miss.
Okay, you're definitely resetting. And unfortunately, Bulldog used TP not so long ago, so mid lane bleeding out a little bit already there.
Yeah. Top side of the map, as far as, you know, jungle and top lane, very, very even on both sides, just going back and forth based on who's picking up farm and when. Humbug now spending a little bit of time taking down this dragon. And looks like he'll be able to do that without too much of a response here, as Pioshik is in the area, but they don't have any information as to what's happening. Full mid lane control means that Closer can rotate down and help out, or at least zone away. And that is the prize that they get for Closer just winning the lane.
Yep. Really a lot of value there, and I think important. You know, we talked about the bot lane already being behind. I think Closer being able to add some reprieve makes a big difference. They will secure that dragon as well, which is crazy. You know, you can obviously understand why, because that mid priority, but crazy how badly the bot lane has gone, and yet they managed to pick up first dragon.
Yep. And just shows, like, I think we saw the survey, you know, the LoL Esports put out, just saying, like, what do you think the most important lane is? There's a reason why mid lane was voted pretty highly. Maybe Faker also helping out there. But still, I do think that mid control, very, very important.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people think about Caitlyn's level 1 being pretty obnoxious, but really, I think when the pick can come online a lot is here. When you've got that first back, you got to be F-Sword, you got a few points in your Peacemaker. If you eat a Q now, it chunks so hard.
I think as long as there's a laning phase, she's really good. It's just in the mid game after the laning phase is kind of broken and you're just positioning your AD carry in mid lane, you're not getting that sieging value as
that's the damage I'm
God,
talking about.
the damage, yeah. Probably going to have to back away. Pollard's been having a rough couple of weeks here in the LCK, and it seems to be continuing somewhat, as I think that he's also going to get interrupted, as we see.
Yeah, and Berserker isn't too far away from level 6, so if they keep up this pressure, there's a scenario where they just pop the ultimate.
Well, there is another Mantra Q to land on towards Hype. Doesn't do too much here. As you can see, they're still able to get some of the farm, but he's missing a lot of the CS.
Yeah, Hype even hit level 6. You know, if they were full HP, they could have looked for an all-in, but obviously they're not because they're just getting bullied. And this tower's in danger of going down. Hambak hasn't been able to make his presence known on the bot side. Berserker's just hit level 6 as well, so...
And he may as well just press the button. They are going to push this wave in. It's another cannon. This is at least a plate, but they might even just be able to get the turret.
I think take a plate now, don't need to overstep yet. Get some more poke in.
Kind of bananas, and Hype down to 200. That is just going to spell the lane, or at least the tower, being completely dead. And if they take that and then rotate towards that top side, then it could be a whole bunch of extra early money to help this composition navigate the hardest part of the game for them.
And, you know, we kind of talked about the damage profile on the top side being very AP heavy, how, you know, Berserker's that sole source of AD. Everyone on the top side's looking at bot lane and being like, yeah, you know, we're good. Yeah, we're fine. Dudu's not thinking he needs to build like a Blade of the Ruined King or something. He's like, my team have got it.
Yep. I don't think he's too concerned.
No, they definitely have the 80 damage in the bag now. And, I mean, obviously things can go amiss later in the game, but to have this early lead already and against a Kalista is just so massive. Should look to close out on that bot lane tower. I don't think there's any rush to take it right now. Ultimately, like, denying farm from Hype is really valuable. But at some point, they'll pick it up and they can move that Caitlyn around and look to pick up plates elsewhere as well.
Yep. This, yeah, the siege turret.
Yeah. The thing is with the Rumble as well, if you end up swapping, oh nice, finds an ult window where Polo's not there to shield. But I was saying, if you end up swapping, Dudu can play so defensive and just ult waves, you know, to kind of mitigate pressure on the other side. And you can look to try and pick up more plates, but they are doing a slow push now. Hambak is trying to find his way in.
Yeah, looking for an angle. DNF still playing aggressively. You've got a rotation down here as Pyosik to move in, but the immediate engage. Crash into the wall as Humbug does have access to the ulti as there's the impale, but Pyosik still in trouble. Fate's Call gets a double knock-up, and Pyosik with a whole bunch of sticks in him, gonna get them ripped out as Hype grabs himself first blood. Much needed money over to the Kalista.
Absolutely, and you saw the benefit of the bailout there coming through for Polo. Yes, Berserker life, it's so much pressure in this 2v2, but in those skirmishes where you're locked into the fight, the Kalista Renata value comes through. And bear in mind, Polo didn't even have ultimate there. You know, he was still level 5. Yep. That was potentially costly. Does manage to get away. This could still just be the tower going down. But I think, you know, getting the kill out of that situation, you'll take it.
Yep, really like the hats. But let's have a look at the replay as Pyosik just on a control ward, and Bro are ready.
Yep, the ult that came out here from Hambak really big before he got CC'd, so they couldn't really cut through him. The handshake from Polo, and then able to survive because of the bailout, Hype finishing off the kill. And again, no level 6, so you think how much better that would have gone for Bro if Polo had that ultimate and still they end up winning out.
Exactly. Really, it's actually a heads-up play there from Polo as well. I think a lot of people would just bail out their AD carry just to buff him up a little bit, but making sure that he had that one ready to give him the extra life. Nicely played.
Yeah, and it's still a massive lead for Caitlyn. This hasn't drastically changed.
Yeah.
You know, we're hyping it up, but we're not.
And he got soloed to like turret gold as well, getting first brick. Like, yeah, it's still huge.
It was a needed injection of gold for Hype, but it doesn't drastically change what happened in the laning phase and the fact that there's already a tower gone. But we do see Bro picking up...
Should be 6 scrubs.
Yeah, should be. So Hambak hasn't been able to impact bot lane, obviously, unfortunately, for Hype and Polo, but he's been doing a good job of picking up these objectives. You'd assume that DNF would be able to pick up the dragon in return without making any moves for it. And
yeah, it's a set for Pyosik.
I think it's criminal if Berserker Life is such a huge lead in the bot lane, and Bro end up getting like 2 dragons and all 6 scrubs. So I definitely think DN Freaks need to make a move towards his dragon and at least get that.
Well, right now there is control vision on it for the Bros. We have a reset for Humbug coming in though, so it looks like DNF should at least get first look in towards this. Humbug actually going to stop the back, and so it is just a replacement of the ward. DN Freaks not able to interrupt Humbug as he is going home. Closer now trying to get some priority here at the same time as DN Freaks with a lot of control on both mid and bottom lane. That should be able to give them access to this dragon as there are furious Bro pings on this area. With that Heartsteel now completed for Pyosik, Humbug is making his way back with his first item done as well, but I don't know whether it's going to be quite enough.
Yeah, I think the item timings are actually good for Bro to fight. They're just not there in time, and with the trap line set up, no way to get in. DN Freaks will pick up the dragon. Positive for them. And it is a Hextech Soul, so a pretty high value one, but it's still just crazy to me that Bros had such a monopoly on these early objectives despite what happened in the bot 2v2.
Yep, they've already completed feats of strength for these objectives as well. It's actually often quite late in the game that we see that one done, often the decider. This time around it is 1 apiece. His first turret does go over to DNF, and we're just looking for a few more kills to decide who's going to get cool shoes this time around. Okay, so gold lead still 1.3, something like that. It's largely onto Berserker. and of course Life as well towards that bottom side. I think if you're Bro though, you're not too worried. Like you were saying, they did manage to get a bunch of these early objectives. 6 grubs means that they'll be able to utilize Morgan in a side lane very effectively.
Yep.
And Berserker with his Yuntal now completed. We'll see whether that is going to be enough to get DNF around the map. Because if Bro never actually make it towards any of these turrets because DNF have so much control of the map, then those grubs mean absolutely nothing. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a catastrophe.
Yeah, I do think it's really important, though, to capitalize on these windows. And because one of the problems is, like, the first item's completed for Berserker ahead of Hype, and that's great. But Yuntal's not, like, an amazing first item because you need to stack it up. You know, and especially considering that like Callista's going to Blade of the Ruined King, that is a much more impactful one-item spike. So they have a window here where Caitlyn is stronger, but once Hype completes his first item, Callista's going to feel really good in return. And even Hype has ended up, well, it's now been equalized, but had a bit of an XP advantage there. And I think that's the main thing is, despite the goal difference, not falling behind in terms of experience. And a big part of that is the fact that Polu's been giving over solo XP to AD carry.
It's working out. Dudu has been very quiet so far this game. Him and Morgan, in fact, have just been kind of trading farm one way and the other. Same can be said after the early game for Bulldog and Closer, as both of them are very, very close. So not really too much of a difference between our solo lanes, and haven't really seen them interact too much as far as any skirmishes more recently. That's why we've only had 1 kill in this game. If that continues, probably good for DNF, but Bro probably wanting to push the pace a little as we, you know, crest the mid-game now.
Yeah, we are seeing a recall from Hype, and does manage to finish the Blade of the Ruined King, so pretty big spike to come through. We did see Leandri's finished for both Bulldog and Dudu, and I get the feeling that we're probably looking at a fight being set up for this Herald in a minute. That could be the big first fight of the game.
So he's going to be able to get positional advantage. Speaking of which, Closer actually looking for a little bit of a trade, does not get it. And Bulldog this time going to be absolutely okay. But Humbug lurking. And Bulldog, you can see, pretty far up this one. Does have a cannon to deal with. I think Humbug wanting a bit of extra damage to go down onto this Azir. And let's see whether this is the overcommitment that they're looking for as Emperor's Divide comes down. Doesn't manage to hit him with an Audacious Charge as that was on cooldown. So nicely played there from Bulldog, waiting for the cooldowns. And the siege continues here in mid.
Yeah, you saw they waited for Bulldog to offensively use the Q on the Azir and thought this is our window to punish, but he still had the ability to dash. And with TP, you know, able to get in and regenerate that health. Ult down shit, you know, that's obviously something they got out of that, but I don't think Bulldog is too bothered there. And now they got some pressure on that mid lane 2-1 because Hype was left isolated. That tower's been pressured down. Rifthold being started up by Handback.
And without the Emperor's Divide, maybe they think that they have an advantage as far as that is concerned. All ultimates available now.
I should think DN Freaks would want to fight this. At least get a look in.
Well, right now we've got some Qs flying around from Life, but not really finding too much joy. Teleport in from the Rumble. Let's see whether this equalizer is going to work out or whether he's even going to use it. The rest of Bro just backing away. They've got a Blast Cone here if they want to utilize it as Hype gets flashed on here by Pyoshik. Not a lot of follow-up, but there is the equalizer that we were looking for. The flash out, the bailout is there, and Pyoshik is going to get taken down. Polu actually getting the kill somehow. And Morgan, ace in the hole, flies through, but that's not going to be nearly enough to take him down. It's another kill for the Bros, but a reset on the Rift Herald. And more damage to this turret. So DN Freaks still playing up because their health bars are looking okay.
Yeah, they should be mid-tier 1. That's the casualty in this fight. All these low health bars from Bro, I mean, they can't really defend this. They did lose Pyoshik in return.
Yeah, and Hype with no summoner spells, not actually able to walk over and try and defend that. So I take it all back. 1 kill, probably not worth losing the outer mid turret. As Pyoshik flashes for this one, it's a little bit disjointed.
Yeah, there just wasn't anyone in position really to follow up other than the equalizer, and then they just did so much damage to Pyoshik that Blade of the Ruined King from the Callista into a Heartsteel only. Skarner definitely getting a lot of value and able to cut him down, and now 1 kill away from having those feats of strength. Weren't able to secure the Rift Herald. I saw them pinging it when they came back on the map, so maybe thought about getting a look in, but Dragon spawning now.
And it's Hextech Soul.
Yeah, so both teams setting up for this. And I think it's really important when you have a composition with range advantage like DN Freaks, with a Caitlyn, you want to get set up and have those traps, but Bro just pushed in brute force to find positioning on the Dragon.
Teleport advantage at full force here as Polu possibly out of position. Ace in the hole, and he's almost dead, flashing pretty late as the smite fight goes over to Humbug. Nicely played by the young players. Closer is, yeah, going to have to go across the veil, but I don't know whether that's quite going to be full safety. Just not quite fast enough is Dudu, and Closer will make it out alive.
And honestly, Bro's super happy with that outcome. You know, Polu Flash being down, not ideal, but they have Kalista ult coming up soon as an extra safety method. They got the Dragon, they got away. DNF Freak's not able to capitalize and just watch them do it. And now, DNF Freak's move over to the Herald, but they, you know, because they were watching Bro do the Dragon trying to contest it, they don't have time to finish off the Rift Herald. And the end result is Bro very favored from that trade.
Yeah, Dudu moves down towards the bottom side. We mentioned the teleport advantage is sort of now down, as Dudu just says, get off my lawn, and is going to get Morgan out of here. But both of them don't have teleport now, so it's no one with too much of an advantage as far as this Herald positioning is concerned, apart from the fact that mid-wave doesn't have a turret for Bro.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, if Bro can get the Herald, they can break the enemy mid-tier 1, which is really important. I feel like DNF Freaks, one of the big reasons teams want Herald is to break that mid-tier 1, which they've already done. So I feel like, honestly, for them, it's more denial. But it will also help them just push the pace of this game. Now, they are getting a setup here. 4 traps covering this choke, but that's the kind of the limit for Caitlyn at this level. So if Bro can find an angle to loop round, they can definitely contest this one.
Yeah, Closer looking for an angle here as Bulldog takes half of his health bar. It is going to be the Rift Herald secured by Pioshik. Humbug a little bit late as he moves in, still wanting a bit of a fight here as we can see. Polu, Fate's Call, pulls him in, the flash out from life, but he immediately gets public executed. Morgan looking for an angle here, he's got the bailout and he uses it. Still is going to go down as Emperor's Divide gets a little bit of safety here, but it's a good handshake as Hype not able to get over the Sand Soldiers. Still 2-for-1 trade, and you'll take that if you're Bro, and they also get themselves the feats of strength.
Yeah, a little bit slow in the contest for the Herald, but they're happy to take the fight. And once again, Pioshik goes down. It feels like Bro's plan is just to bully him here. We see initially a little bit tricky getting in. Handback does walk through a trap. Polu gets choked out, but they find this angle in here, and Polu gets huge value with not only the ult from the Monada, but also the bailout. Morgan doesn't survive in the end, but it buys a bit more time and really makes it uncomfortable for Berserker, who has to disengage. Bulldog has to flash out, but so much time stalled. DNF's bot lane not able to do much thanks to Polu's actions there. Yep. Especially when you look at the Caitlyn's items already, has that Yuntal, has that IE, does a fair bit of damage if you can connect, which didn't get much of a window to do so there.
Can be difficult, especially because Morgan can get so much backline access. Closer is so slippery on this Aurora. And with Polu's bailout, it can just eat a lot of that DPS. If you spend a bit of time, you know, trying to cut someone down and then they just don't die, it can be a little bit problematic. So nicely played by Bro. And I think that the skirmishes and fights have been all kind of coming up Bro. But DNF have been playing the map very well. They still have a gold advantage. Hasn't extended at all as Dudu now looking for a bit of an opportunity here as the wave is against him. And the Rift Herald is now going to be thrown down. It was in fact Bulldog that had that one, but the Voracious Otacon has been started. Dudu and Morgan fighting one another, and the Flame Spitter comes up, gets the flash out from this Ambessa, and Dudu has teleport available.
And Morgan doesn't.
Yeah. This is a huge deal. Humbug looking for an opportunity here to try and take them down. He does still have his ulti and decides to go in onto Bulldog, utilizing it here. But Dudu with that teleport is going to turn up. And now they have the extra life. They are going to be able to get the recall, but that is going to be a kill from Pioshik. And finally, DNF come alive. Hype just trying to send as many of them back home as he can. But he is going to be taken out himself. And that's a kill going over to Berserker. For the first time in this game, DNF win a fight, and it's a big one.
The confidence to go for this play. DNF Freaks throw the Herald down, start the Atachan, and then Dudu is really the signature piece who set this one up, because chunking out Morgan, kind of keep him invested and then TPing over, ensure they have the numbers advantage. And I think honestly for Bro, should have just let it go.
Yeah.
I think there's a point here, the TP's coming in, I think you just back away, because realistically, even if they get the Atachan, what are they going to be able to translate it into? Like a dragon? Sure, not ideal, but not the end of the world. But by investing in this fight, losing so many members here.
And the hostile takeover was thrown at the front line, right? Like, the damage didn't have to care about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so DNF didn't need to reposition, didn't need to worry, and they're losing. Like, another turret goes down. That is 4 already picked up, and that is large. Like, that's almost their entire gold advantage, is all of these structures that they've been able to take down. Bro just
I think
caught napping a little bit, and it's soul point opportunity for the Bros as well, but I don't think they'll be able to get a position on this Dragon.
Yep, and Berserker getting close to 3 items, which is really where he's starting to pump out damage. Kind of getting through that mid-game trough pretty comfortably with that fight. Bro are looking to contest this. This is risky, though. I mean, they have TP from Morgan, and Bulldog's top without TP, so maybe a mismanagement from the DM Freaks.
Yeah, that's a teleport in. That is going to be soul point secured there by Humbug. And it's because Bulldog's not there. DNF do back away, which I think was smart, but the fact that they had to is the problem.
It is ludicrous that with this gold lead, oh
dear. Okay, Pureshik going to get a crash into Morgan. Another public execution going to stop him from pulling him back, though, and Morgan actually finding the angle onto Dudu. Pureshik's very tanky, but Closer does so much DPS. They take down the Kalista, though. Another recall is forced. Bro are limping away, but they're going to do so successfully as Berserker's health bar is blinking. But remember, they're only 200 gold as they're walking towards the Bros. Closer's still looking for that angle, and they do manage to pick up that 200 gold from Life. And Bulldog still farming in that top lane.
Just when I was praising the DM Freaks for that play around Arakan, they make such a fumble, honestly, with how this went. So not only do they not get the Dragon, despite having this buff, they commit to this fight. And this is a 4v5, and yes, they have Arakan. Yes, they're not giving over full kill gold, but they don't win this fight. And it's still favorable for Bro in this situation. If Hype had finished off Berserker there, then it would have been an absolute disaster for the DM Freaks, but Berserker does manage to clutch it out there.
He went down to like half a health.
Yeah, but then they overstep at the end, and we see Bro coming out with this, 1 Dragon away from Soul. The Arakan buff, gone. And yes, there is still a substantial gold lead, don't get me wrong, but I just think that considering how favored things had looked for DM Freaks on the back of the Arakan, they really dropped the ball here.
Yeah. And Bro, there's a lot of standing gold. I mean, this is a caster favorite is to talk about the standing gold, but all of the turrets are up. They can just slurp up a bunch of money around the map if they ever get any, like, essence of control. So winning a fight into destroying all of these structures is just going to mean a huge swing as far as the money is concerned. And now, Bro, all they need to think about is playing around Dragon over and over again as Closer does get a lot of damage onto Life, but now Bro find themselves in an awkward position. Polo not going to get bailed out of that one, and that's DN Freaks managing to get a pick.
3 items from this Kalista, giving Berserker such confidence, but also just, you know, no Kalista ult available to save Polo from that one. Closer doesn't connect his abilities onto Berserker.
Aaron.
They're doing so much damage here. They're going to have to try and take this fight 4v5. Without the Renata, it's so hard.
Well, in goes Humbug. He finds the ulti as well. Life in a bit of trouble, but there's the equalizer down. A flash out from Humbug gets him to relative safety. They've stopped the Baron, but at what cost? The 2-man impale! And both Morgan and Hype are on the floor. Bro now having to escape from this one, and DNF will go straight back to the Purple Worm.
Not going to let their previous mistakes rattle them. DN Freaks take control, and playing around these 3 items on Berserker, they've got such confidence. They set up for the Baron, and they will be able to secure this. This gold lead was already large. Really going to balloon at this point.
Oh, yeah. Let's have a look at this one more time, because it kind of felt like, Bro, they were just sort of searching for an opportunity. Berserker not being hit by Closer was pretty good for them, but Bro just overextending. Yeah,
Polo just out of position, and no Kalista ult available yet to save. And here, Handback decides to dive in and try and make something off it, but the equalizer value is huge. And look at Dudu. Just toasts Hype here. This big grab that comes in as well. Kyoshi kind of redeeming himself for that early game.
Yeah. A lot of that feeling like it's well and truly in the past now, as he's sitting at 1, 3, and 5. It was sort of a 0-3 deal for a very long time there. Not to be the case anymore. 8,000 gold now the lead, and that is only going to extend as this Rebel Baron power play comes ever further. And this is what we were mentioning before. If you never get time with the turrets, what does the 6 grubs actually mean? And for Bro, they haven't been able to utilize it at all.
Yep. And now looking for a bit of a flank here from Closer, but they can't just rotate towards the top side. They have a wave coming in anyway.
Yeah, they're flanking the air.
And now there's so much vision in this jungle as well from the side of DM Freaks. They should. Oh, they haven't spotted him yet.
Yeah, Closer now going to pop out of the fog of war. Bulldog going to be slowed down, but does just shift the sands to get himself out.
It's not enough damage, you know, at this point from Closer coming out there. Berserker a little isolated here, but will be able to back away.
Yep, has the defensive Dudu there at the same time. DN Freaks just with all of the control. 9,000 gold, here is the lead.
It's a substantial lead, and I feel like Bro's only real hope is to stall this out and maybe try and contest the Dragon, or just find an engage. And I don't think it's easy at this point, but I don't think they have much choice.
Yep, they have to just go. Humbug has been pretty good at doing that, whether it's for better or for worse. As Morgan once again diving forward, looking for an opportunity. Haven't seen the public execution just yet. We'll see whether he does decide to use that to try and get on top of Berserker, get this fight into a position that they want. Their base not broken yet, and the Baron still with a minute and a quarter to go.
Yeah, a lot of respect given over to Closer in these situations. Anytime they sense he's missing or see him go invisible, they just back up. Don't want to give him a big ult angle. And here, setting up for the Dragon. You get that line of Caitlyn traps, there's just no way the Bro can approach, so there should be a pickup.
Yep, the defensive doo-doo as well is certainly going to be helpful. So like you were saying, I don't think that Bro have, you know, too much to worry about here, giving away a second Dragon here, the first Hex Tech for DNF. As the Baron still with 40 seconds, they're going for a reset. They might be able to get one more push.
Oh, the
but
GA
oh my god,
Caitlyn.
yeah. Berserker is a problem.
Bad thing to come through from the perspective of Bro. He is already doing so much damage, and now you got to kill him twice. So good luck.
Yep. And they were struggling. Like, it was almost as if he had a GA in that last fight where he went down to like 1 health, and he didn't even have one yet. And so now he actually does. So it's just, it feels like a compiling issue. Still, DNF need to close this one out. They should be able to do so. Still, it's a slight clawing back, and you can see that the Rebel Baron power play is just, you know, basically neutral as far as taking the buff is concerned. Bro have been able to defensively play relatively well. This is after clearing out a bunch of waves that have been shoved relentlessly towards them. I think that there's one more team fight. I'm not willing to give up on the Bros just yet. We'll see whether they can make it happen, as slow rotation over from Dudu, but Polu's taking so much.
I was through Celestial Opposition.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Scary to be playing Renata into this. We do see them going to be able to take this tower here. Even without Baron, their pushing power is still so extreme. I do think getting the inhibitor, completely different battle. Simply because if you push through into that choke, the Renata ult gets insane value, as does the Aurora ult. So I think they make the right call to slow things down. They are pushing up again.
Yeah.
If you get in range, even with Caitlyn's huge range, if you get in range to hit the inhib, you're in a dangerous spot. So I don't think DN Freaks need to hard force this.
Well, Closer looking for an angle here as he flashes in, gets over to the other side. He has some one-on-one time with Berserker. He gets a huge shield and another crash here onto Morgan. They take down Humbug, but the Impale does absolutely nothing. Berserker's just free hitting though, taking whatever he wants and their lunch money. Hype running the wrong direction, and the DN Freaks are looking like they're gonna crush the Bros here in game 1.
And, you know, it wasn't a flawless game, but I think the player who was flawless is Berserker. You know, they gave him the Caitlyn, confidence into the Calista, and he's just dominated from minute 1. Hype, yeah, this is kind of summary of how the game went.
Yeah, that's some mechanics there from Dudu, pressing the Q button and walking near him. And Nexus turret's going to fall. I thought that Bro's composition was nicely put together. I thought some of their fights in the early game were pretty good, but DN Freaks, they controlled the map and they took down the Bros here in game 1.
Absolutely. Camera focuses in on Berserker, who had a phenomenal game. And we're talking about the damage profile, the trust in your 1 AD source, and he 100% delivered.
Oh, he did. Controlling that lane and controlled the game. And I just want everyone to know that their channel points are in a better place now. And it's totally fine. Myself included. I think I put 200,000 into that one. I didn't go all in necessarily, but definitely a decent donation into the nether, or into the DN Freaks fans' pockets. And you can see a man with the long hair. Berserker is certainly having a fantastic game in this one. The Caitlyn looking real good. And that was on the red side as well. We've seen blue side be pretty powerful. DN Freaks really putting themselves in prime position moving into the second game of this series.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit unfortunate because obviously you got priority on the bot lane you wanted, it got countered, you got counter pick in your solo lanes, but against the Zia Rumble, what did counter pick really mean? Not so much. Closer had a bit of a lane advantage against Bulldog, but it's not so significant. And we look, you know, there was some mistakes from Bro, sure, but for minute 1, they were kind of on the back foot. And then even when DN Freaks made mistakes, you never really saw that much of a dip in terms of their gold. You know, it was always mounting towards them. The objectives secured were solid for the side of Bro, but dragons don't mean that much if you don't get the soul.
Yep, and the early game doesn't mean that much if you then throw it in the mid. But it is time to learn for the Bros. We'll see whether DN Freaks can also keep up the good work, because it is time for us to go to a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break that one down, and then we'll have game number 2. See you soon.
힐드 줘. 어때? 못 뛰어줘.
정면 맞아.
해봐, 이렇게 해봐. 나 봐줘.
너안 죽어.
해봐. 천천히 해봐. 해봐. 나 앞에 거 걸게.
시작해 줄게. 앞에서 죽이시죠 저랑. 탑으로 가면 끝날 듯.
오, 쉣. 끝내자. 빨리 필이야. 무폴. 죽었다. 아이, 야.
너무 천천하게 왜 이렇게
던졌다, 내가 좀.
괜찮아.
아, 갉아먹어야 되는데 버스트를 내버렸네, 내가. 천천히 이겼어, 한잔해.
깜빡이면 다 천천히
안 돼.
했는데. 그럼 내 구원 또 5,300.
운전해. 바톤 타워피 보니까 근데 든든하긴 하더라.
아,
그러니까 뭐야, 바톤.
원래 이게
You're like, oh, that close, but no. 11.
Little off.
I don't think you're quite gonna get there.
No.
Yeah, maybe 10,800.
Maybe in a couple of years she'll be at the front of the queue. Oh, they're all sold out? Oh, lucky.
You might, like 10,800 people might just pass.
Yeah, maybe. Banking on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you'd be banking on. What we're banking on is draft utilization by the bros. They aren't going to swap sides. It is going to be blue side once again here. We'll see whether they can utilize it effectively, as once again, the Sejuani, Ezreal are both taken away, and there is the Gwen as well. It would be Vi and then Yone to be banned on the Dan Freak side, and this would be a Varus ban if we were just going to mirror the bans entirely, which we might just do. Oh no, maybe it's a Varus first pick angle this time with like Kalista not on the table anymore, Caitlyn not on the table anymore. Maybe it's.
I think that's the thing. If you ban something else, then you leave DM Freaks to choose. Do you want to leave Yone open or do you want to leave Varus open, and then you can get the other.
Yeah.
I think the correct call potential. I mean, the thing is, I don't think Yone is as big for DM Freaks. That's the problem. Because if you leave them both open, I think Brion might just take the Varus, and then so they end up banning the Yone, which I think makes sense given the context. But then Brion just first picked the Varus and are pretty happy with that trade-off, especially with how rough bot one went. You really want something like the Varus where he doesn't have the same bad matchups as Kalista. Like, you can't just outrange him.
Keep it honest on the bottoms, because it felt like it was just matchup dependent. That's what gave the big lead to the DN Freaks in game number 1.
And I agree with what Wolf said. Definitely it was, how well Berserker and Life capitalized on it. It wasn't just purely like, okay, this matchup means we should be this far ahead and have your tower this time. But yeah, definitely the Varus gives a lot of security for that bot lane matchup.
Yeah, and full credit, because you do have to play it right for it to work. We've seen it not work.
The Neferi's been picking up some momentum.
He needs 4 kills!
Considering the bad start, but
reset champion for the 4 kills!
Yeah.
Let's go! Nefari?
Oh, man. I mean, I think Ari is fine, but I just... This is chilly, just a Talia slam immediately from Brion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at the Wukong as well. Wukong Talia.
Sounds pretty good to me. And there it is.
Yeah, Pioshik.
Look at his face as well. Closer really knows that that's a W.
Pioshik did win last game, but there were definitely some moments where it didn't feel like he individually was winning.
Yeah. I like that qualifier.
Yeah.
He did win, however.
Yeah, and now he's playing Neferi into Talia. And Neferi has been such a volatile pick. When we came into the start of the season, we talked about how it was 80% win rate in the LPL. It is now stabilized at 50% in the LCK so far, which is pretty good considering how it started.
Yep.
But still, we've seen it being so volatile, and it can just get punished, can get shut down, doesn't need momentum. We do see the Corki coming out for Berserker, so picking a champion that does have a decent amount of lane presence, but still not as much as the Varus will have.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the same lopsided matchup that we saw last time. Of course, supports need to be taken into account, but they're the things that are going to be taken off the table here. Already the Nautilus to be removed, and we'll see what else Polu's going to have to deal with not having. As Morgan being pretty vocal, as he's having a chat to Edgar about what they want to be banning away. As we could be limiting the topside pull, we could be limiting the support pull. We'll see where they're going to be considering.
Yeah, look at the Poppy ban. I think Decent was going to have a lot of value in support. I think, honestly, if I was Brion, I would kind of love a Rakan because it syncs well with Wukong. But also, DM Freaks, if they pick Rakan, it's Rakan into Talia, which is suboptimal.
Yeah, it feels a little bit rough. Also, it feels rough into Wukong as well, because often you leave a clone behind when you engage, your backline's standing on the clone, and then your Rakan, you dive in and you just get immediately knocked up by Cyclone. And it can be quite annoying.
Can be frustrating. A lot of CC options to shut him down. So, I think in this situation, Jace ban coming out. Is there anything specifically they want to deny away from Dudu? Maybe like a Gnar could be annoying to go up against if they were to like leave that counter pick till the end.
Yep. Also a decent blind pick here if they do want to save support pick till last. And so there is that Gnar ban. Good call, Mr. Orcs.
Yeah, and now in this situation, where do you want to prioritize? Do you want to give counter pick to Dudu? Is there something you think you can really lean on? Is Morgan just going to pick Renekton? Do you want to deny the Renekton? Seems like they do want to have that counter pick, so just looking at the rel, and I think Brion would... I mean, you have options, obviously. You can pick the Alistar into it if you really want. But actually, they're going to turn around and go for the Aatrox.
I don't know whether I like 100% agree with this, but I do think that Dudu has had some phenomenal performances on Aatrox in the past.
Yep.
And so now Morgan, with that on the table, there's not that many things that you really want to take blind into it outside of his Renekton.
Of course. You know, I feel like the two in my mind, it'd kind of be Jax or Renekton, but it's Morgan, so of course it's Renekton.
Yep.
And here, they end up
the cow.
going for the Alistar. I think that's fine. Especially, there's a decent amount of damage flying out, so maybe they thought Rakan was... I think Rakan would have made a lot of sense here.
Yeah, I also am a little bit worried about... Like, I feel like you need to see the angles as Life may have seen the angles in the future, perhaps.
One concern as well is that, you know, Rakan, despite being one of these sort of engaged supports, the sustain he has is very hard to counteract, so has a good amount of lane presence early. I think that's maybe what Life was pondering with. Do I want to pick a range support and bully this Alistar out? But in the end, just goes for the rel and...
The self-counter pick instead of trying to counter pick.
Yeah, I mean... I think it's still, I think the matchup is still playable, but I think ultimately Team Comps as a whole, I think Brion is super happy. You know, I think Pioshik had some struggles game one. He's now playing Neferi into like Talia Wukong. So much CC on the side of Brion. I think they're really happy with the matchups across the board. You know, we came out of game one like, you know, Berserker needs to win bot lane, and he did, and that allowed them to take it. But this game, I really feel like Brion have the edge, and it's kind of looking more at Pioshik being relevant on the Neferi, which...
And I feel like this has happened in a lot of DN Freaks games where it's one player that has a huge microscope over them. Like, if you do not perform, this is doomed. And a lot of times, it hasn't worked. DN Freaks obviously have lost more games than they've won, only with 2-game victories now after this game 1 win here so far as we get into week 2. So, worrying beginning here. As Pioshik fan here in the audience is this a marriage proposal situation here? I don't have too much context as to what was happening here. We're both married.
Oh.
So I don't know whether that's entirely appropriate because they haven't legalized second marriages.
Yeah, that's the only blocker. If that wasn't there...
I mean, 100% I would have proposed. Don't you worry.
What a shit.
As it is now time for game number 2. My wedding gift to you.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Man, DNF fans are so loud here today, as already some rocks being thrown around. Pioshik going aggressive, finding some daggers, but Humbug's going in as well.
Did you see, by the way, in the zoom in on the champions there, how derpy the dogs look from the Neferi hot dog skin?
Oh, it's so good.
They look so funny.
Oh, this whole skin line was actually, like, every year, this is like the best time for skins.
Yeah.
Except that when we get our yearly T1 skins, that's pretty cool as well. But this is probably my favorite.
Look, you know, the best skins either look really cool or look really fun and goofy.
Yep.
Renekton, another classic.
Yeah, it's the one that Morgan uses all the time. I think Pool Party Renekton is easily the best. That back animation is so good.
Spamming it onto the lifeguard chair.
Uh-huh.
Anyone who's played that skin
you used to be a lifeguard, was it you?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, there we go.
Days.
So you really relate to that beautiful skin.
Absolutely.
I can understand. As Closer and Bulldog, this is a matchup that has gone Talia's way in the past. Morgan as well. He has been relatively good on Renekton. But Dudu has also had some great games on the Aatrox. This is not, you know, a phenomenal matchup one way or the other. I think a lot of it's going to come down to the hands and brains of these top laners. We'll see how it does go. As here, Hype and Polo are just really happy to be able to kind of play the game.
Yep. Bit of a loss streak for the Corki right now.
Yeah, hasn't been doing super well, as we can see here, utilized in many lanes.
In fairness, a lot of these teams who have been playing it kind of underperforming in general.
Yep.
Although 2 of those losses are Berserker.
Yeah, T1 also losing 1, and they've been doing relatively well, especially after the Telecom War. You know, people sometimes tell me that the Telecom War is just, despite the form of these teams, it's always about. Yesterday was not a banger. It was not. It was a shutout, and I'm a huge Puddock fan, so I was really happy that he was back. And so it didn't quite work out. Still, we are digressing away from the match at hand, which is Bro and DNF. If you're just turning up now, pay your Bro tax. Goodness me. That is something you're going to have to do. Also,
I think it was quite clear game 1 we didn't get enough Bro taxes.
Yeah, I think so too. And now all of the Bro fans who all in on Bro, as you would, have no channel points. So Bro tax is going to be really difficult to pay. So
yeah, they need to find a sponsor to cover their Bro tax.
Well, Closer is slurping up all of that Bro tax and is using it to put damage into Bulldog.
Good trade, and Closer, you know, even in game 1 had the edge in the mid lane matchup, finding it again on this Talia. Bulldog kind of wants to be in a position to recall.
Yeah, he's going to be able to do that, but should miss this cannon unless he stays. He does do that. As the Infernal Chain's coming out here. And Morgan and Dudu just continuing to trade blows. Should be pretty even as far as the farm is concerned after these waves do equalize. Unless this pesky caster minion is going to get taken down by that melee. Oh, tragedy. It's not a cannon, it's still.
Honestly, with how low Bulldog is, looks like he's found a window now to recall, did manage to clear the wave. I was going to say, like, he's bordering on, like, dive threat potential, that help. Is able to get away in the jungler's Judas trade, Scuttle Crabs. When the TP back in, that earlier pressure hasn't really amounted to much, as both mid laners have similar CS.
Life taking a bit of damage here. Some Blight stacked up there by Hype. The Varus certainly one of Hype's better champions in Challenger when he was playing that on KT in past years. So we'll see whether he's going to be able to use that comfort to get some wins here. Headbutt Pulverize from Polu as Hype finds a combo. Berserker able to offer a bit of damage back, but the trample is good. And the follow-up is also good here. As the Bro bottom lane finding some angles must feel cathartic.
Must feel so much better. You know, they suffered in game 1. Now able to put the hit down and just have Varus outranging the Corki. Really not finding too many angles to trade back in return. Closer again though, you know, this is fresh off recalls and TPs. And already Bulldog is gonna have to recall again.
Yeah, and Closer has been really good in lane, honestly, in a lot of the games here in the LCK. As Morgan, I mean, he's playing with fire. He really wants this cast.
He knows his limits. He's the Lord on his signature champion. There's no
true.
way he's just gonna die here.
Well, I know it's Chronicler that's the caster curse guy, but that was dangerous there, Orcs. Be careful.
I just have faith in my Lord. But do get your bro taxes in really quickly.
Yeah, please, please. You need to make up for that horrendous caster curse. As speaking of caster data, that was melee. Morgan going to be able to take that one down and look for a reset. Pyoshik still just farming things out here on the top side of the map. Does head over towards Krugs now. As Morgan's standing on a ward, not sure whether he's fully aware. You can see the health bars are very even. Level 6s hit by both of these top laners. The world could end in dominance, or something like that. But it's not going to happen. I'm commentating a top lane matchup. Orcs, like, save me. Help me.
Let's look towards Hambak, who's now looking to put a ward down.
Hey!
What a great segue. And looking towards the Grubs, which is actually...
That's probably more important. It's a 100 goal difference between the two teams, and that doesn't mean too much. That's a good seismic shove. From Closer on to Bulldog, who is just being hit by kind of everything here in this lane.
Tanking the rocks with his face is certainly a decision.
It is.
Not going too well, and now we do see Pyoshik starting up the Dragon return, so we actually saw one grub taken by Hambak, and he's now beelining down. He's not willing to make this trade, and I think this is the absolute right call, especially with this pressure you have in mid and bot.
Yeah,
shouldn't be giving over objectives freely. Yeah,
already getting experience from the Grubs as well as he makes his way down. So really nicely done there. Not going to put him a level in advantage or anything like that, but hitting that level 6 as fast as possible going to be so important here for this Wukong, who is just going to dive towards this Dragon himself. Pyoshik now moving down towards the bottom side. Does have his Gromp now spawning, but I think he might try and contest this, but full vision is available here for the Bros. And Polu is in position, has a wave freshly crashed, and Life not going to be able to impact too much here as Bulldog does manage to clear out a wave, is looking to rotate over, but it's a little bit late. Shattering Strike gets a beautiful double stun, but the Pulverize is going to stop the crash down from doing anything. surprise delivery here as Life's gonna have to flash away. Hail of Arrows comes down and Humbug's making his way, and Piercing Arrow is gorgeous from Hype. As now Closer finds himself in trouble, but it's another gorgeous seismic shove, getting Pyosik out of there, and Bulldog has to use a very defensive ultimate to escape. The Bros with so much control in that fight.
Just beautifully played, and you know, it felt like game one, Bro was getting these objectives despite the pressure DNF Freaks have, but here they have the pressure, they set it up perfectly, and it felt like really Hype landing all his abilities there with the setup from Polu and Closer. Like, normally an Ahri and a Fairy bearing down on you is so scary. He just had complete confidence. We'll see that play again. So Polu doing a great interrupt here, and then the cleanse coming out from Hype. We see Handback moving over, the Weaver's Wall as well, and just everything connects. You know, getting the Blight Stacks in, getting the Q, and then look at Closer here, gets jumped on, manages to disengage Pyosik, dodge the Orb of Deception there, and DNF instantly know they have to back away.
Yeah, beautifully played. Closer's Talia has been fantastic in the past. I feel like Closer is like either a genius or he's lost his mind in a lot of the games that we've seen from Bro.
There's a lot of LCK players you could talk
Yeah.
that way about.
Yeah, it is a good point. And honestly, if things are going well, then you're generally going to look better, but Closer is certainly never scared to make the play, you know? DNF going to be able to grab at least a couple of these grubs, but because Bro managed to pick up one of them, there's not going to be any feats of strength or portions of such. And so Pyosik not going to get too much value there. Still, with 2 grubs for DNF, that is infinity% more grubs than they got in the last game. So there's that.
Yeah, but they didn't lose last game, so maybe it's a bad omen. And now, oh, they're looking for Hype here.
X-Flash. Life is going to make his way in. There's the Crash Down Shattering Strike combo. Remember, he doesn't have Cleanse. And is now going to turn things around. Does hit the Piercing Arrow to try and at least alleviate the trade somewhat.
Yeah, doesn't end up using the flash. A lot of patience there, and obviously didn't need it. Does result in them getting chunked out. But I think Life does have to be a bit careful. Flashless into this Alistar and this Varus with ultimate. If he oversteps, they could just burst through him.
Morgan playing pretty aggressively here. Does get hit by the 3rd Q and kind of everything else that Dudu was thrown out. Seismic Shove. This time going to be avoided by Bulldog, but a big rock to the skull is also going to hurt.
Yeah, and it's now Catalyst already come through for Closer, and no Catalyst for Bulldog means these trades are just even harder to win with that sustain that comes through.
Ooh, this is feeling dangerous.
Well, level 6 hit.
Yeah, Magnastorm available. Remember, Hype does need to flash and does do so to get himself out of the way. And there's the special delivery. Polu! Who is this guy?
Beautifully played. Didn't even need to use his flash to set that up. Hype able to use his to bait Life, and Life falls for the trap. Another kill for that Varus. A huge boon for Bro right now.
Man, that was so well played. And I had my doubts about this Alistar play from Polu, but I take it all back. Looking real nice. Hype, of course, starting it up with a beautiful flash, but then the delivery and getting a kill out of this moment is not what I was expecting.
Yeah, the layering of CC great, and now looking for a kill on the top side.
Bro, just unrelenting. Closer going to be tanking this one up, but does find the shove and is able to walk it off just right. And that's plates going over to Morgan as well. Bro in so much control here of game 2.
Yes, and great proactivity. The fact that they get the winning 2v2 play bot, set up a play top side. The CC setup from the Renekton makes it so easy, and things looking a lot more positive than the game 1 did.
Yeah, it's positive. There's the bro activity and the positiveness, and we are getting all of it here in this game.
Positivity.
Yeah, it's hard to say without an accent creeping in, isn't it?
Yeah, difficult. I'm working on it.
We'll see whether you can get there by the end. I think there's going to be need for some positivity as we move forward. Their mid games have been the more difficult parts.
Yeah,
as far as
that. Sometimes some questionable decisions. Looking for.
Oh, the disengage cone. But Polu is going to be able to find an angle. There's another pulverize. And Humbug on top of the Rel. Life comes at you fast, but this time he's going to be going down, although managing to flash away. There is a teleport coming in, and finally he falls, but the fight is on for real. Pyosik going to go down sort of sadly, and Bulldog looking for an angle here, but Humbug's over the wall, finds that Warrior Trickster, and Bulldog is on a side of the map that he doesn't really want to be. He's going to get smoked, and another Nimbus Strike should spell the end of him, and there he goes. That's a Bro win if ever I've seen one.
Looked like initially it could have been scary, the fact that a lot of CC was used on a Life and they weren't able to really follow up. The counterplay comes in. We'll see that here. So a little bit scrappy at first, not able to get over the wall initially onto Life, and then Polu using both the visibilities onto this Rel. I think this is why we saw the window for DM Freaks. But the big thing is the TP difference. So Renekton able to teleport in. Life's already low and disengaged from the fight. Great peel on this Neferi from Hollow and Closer. And then Bulldog commits the flash to get this kill. And in terms of gold, it's worth, you know, getting the shutdown. But definitely doesn't feel good just to go down to handback a moment later.
Yeah, and Bro with full control of the map afterwards as well. It's nicely played. And also, I think kills going over to Wukong going to be feeling fantastic. You can see already has the Trinity Force completed, 2-0-2. I mean, Humbug is off to the races in this game. As we have a look at the gold, it is up and to the right here for the Bros.
Absolutely, starting early in this one, and with a big, sizable lead, picking up that Dragon as well. Their second is going to be Infernal Soul, which, oh man, with a Varus, with a Talia,
yeah.
that is...
With the Renekton.
With DM Freaks, yep, absolutely.
Oh, man. Yep, it's looking a little bit worrisome. Thankfully, DM Freaks can, you know, consider the fact that the third game is going to exist, right? They managed to find a really good game one. They had a lot of control there. They were able to turn around some good skirmishing from Bro. The problem is they were also able to retain a gold advantage by controlling the map really well. And this time, they've dropped the ball on all fronts instead of just dropping the ball in these skirmishes.
Yep. Do you see DM Freaks jungle and support pushing in here, trying to threaten Closer, maybe looking for an opportunity. Remember, no TP from Morgan, so Closer is isolated for now. He's the one with the Weaver's Wall.
Ooh, it's a bit scary, yeah. Bulldog looking for the angle, but maybe going in a little early. Does have Spirit Rush now on cooldown, or at least does have, yeah, now it's on cooldown. And Life crashes away.
I think, you know, they started to sense something was up, and then when Bulldog ulted, you're like, okay, there's definitely, you know, it's very clear what they're going for. Bro start to move in response, and DM Freaks had such a short timing window because they are behind, because they wanted, you know, a 3v1, not a 3v3, that they end up disengaging.
Yeah, lots of vision here towards the bottom side of the map. Still 3.5 minutes on the Drake, so nothing too much to worry about there. Humbug starting off these grubs. If he gets all of them, they will have a grub lead. We'll see whether Pioshik does head on over there. Quiet game so far for Pioshik, sort of unceremoniously dying in the last team fight, and that's been the contribution.
Yeah, you know, I talked about how this was going to be a harder game for Neferi, and also how Neferi is a pick who does like to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Not really seeing that. Oh, this could be devastating for Dudu.
Yeah, I heard the Korean casters with an ooh. And I certainly second that thought, as if Closer does find a seismic shove angle, this could be real rough. As Dudu throws out the Q, that is going to stop any ruthless predators from coming on forward. As Dudu going to look to try and hold the wave, and that is not going to work out because Closer is here in position. Nicely played, a little bit of a substitution here for our solo laners as Closer moves on up and does push Dudu out.
Yeah, Morgan about to have TP up and available, so with them setting up for this Herald in 50 seconds, he would be able to join. So doing some early work to get the lane assignments in order.
Yeah.
TP coming out now.
All right, Seismic Shove just going to immediately throw Bulldog back because you cannot avoid that because he just turned up. Speaking of just turning up, Polo is going to do just that, but the flash still has to be invested here by Closer, get himself out of the way. Good aggression there from Bulldog to get the summoner spell.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a longer cooldown for the flash compared to the ult, but that doesn't really matter when there's a Herald in 20 seconds. So I think that really is going to make it difficult for the DM Freaks to contest that. It already was, but maybe looking more towards that Dragon in 2 minutes. That's when Ari will have ult again, and Closer will still not have that flash available.
Well, Dudu actually finding that second Q. I was expecting that one to miss. Does not happen. As Morgan picks up a Cinder and looks to go aggressive. No sweet spot there for that first one, but the second one is going to land. Humbug starting up yet another objective. And feats of strength are already there for the Bros. As Control Ward goes down, Pioshik doesn't find the daggers.
I always judge people who don't pick up Cinders and don't pick up the flowers. You know, we see a lot of the pros just kind of ignore them. I really doesn't resonate with me. But Morgan, he knew he was there, what he was there to pick up.
I mean, the Lord understands. He understands where the value comes from. As Polo does manage to headbutt Dudu away, but now he finds himself in an awkward spot. Flash out, and he's going to take the northern exit. Life just crashes towards him, and it's a little bit of a comedy here. The Unbreakable Will up and available, and Polo can just headbutt his way out. What is... Polo is just running him around the map. And in the meantime, the Rift Herald is taken. Humbug crashes it into the mid-outer turret, and Closer is on an inner turret in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concept of the play from the DM Freaks was fine. You're giving up the Herald that's leaned towards bot lane, but it got a little bit goofy towards the end.
I mean, I need someone to clip this whole game and just like send it to I will dominate, you know? Because Dom had some choice words to say about Polo recently, and I honestly kind of agreed. I think that Polo was having a very, very rough start to the season, but this game has been very good.
It's been some good redemption, honestly. Some good Alistair play in this one so far, really taking advantage of the matchup, and now looking to set up for this third dragon. I feel like this is one of those where, do I think the DNF Freaks were in a great spot to fight this? Absolutely not, but is the game maybe a bit cooked if they just let this go? Kinda. So they're trying to find closer here.
Yeah, Weaver's wall, and he just gets himself out. Finds himself in an awkward spot as he jumps off the wall, as Humbug's looking to re-engage. And speaking of engaging Polo, he's going to be not finding too much joy because Pureshik goes untargetable. Still, Seismic Shove's good onto life. And now the Aatrox turns up to die. Hype just takes him out. Sometimes you teleport, and it doesn't work. And that for Dudu was one of those times.
Look, I don't massively agree with the decision to burn your Ariel to try and find closer, but I get it, right? You're behind, you want to try and find a pick before the fight because you're not confident in the fight. But once the pick fails, why'd you still fight? That's my question. I think DNF Freaks should have just taken that as a memo to get out of there.
That's because they made that decision in the last game and they won.
Bad habits.
Yeah.
That's how you build them. So like here, a little risky with the wave there. It was a great call from the closer.
Minion.
Yeah, they didn't have full information, but here, it should just be, the call should just be get out, you know? If Life can escape, Life can escape. If you can't, he can't. But I think like TPing in here, you're baiting the TP, and you're just sacrificing your top laner. Like, keep your top laner top, you can push in a wave, maybe pressure that tower, and then potentially you just don't give over as much.
Yeah.
I think these teams are struggling a bit with these decisions in the heat of the moment. When to just say, right, we tried, we're not winning this encounter, back off, fight another day.
Yeah, and now it's an Aatrox at 0-2-0, and I think that could have some serious flow-on effects here. As Morgan 1-0-1, going to be winning in this side lane, and we know that his Renekton, he's one of the players that does manage to find a lot of success in the later game on a champion like this, even though you only have that one form of CC. It lasts a long time and is just clickable.
Yep.
Which feels good. Still, Berserker up against Hype here in this mid lane. We've got the shield done, Ghostblade there as well. 2 items already completed. Berserker still looking for that second spike as Pureshik looking for an opportunity here. Dominus from Morgan. And we've got Rel making her way down. Pureshik still going to be able to continue the chase. But Morgan, I think he might be out, although Dudu does chase after him.
Man.
There's a slice, but there's no dice. Doesn't matter. DNF just have to back away, and they'll lose an inner turret for it.
The Lord doesn't go down. He knows the limits of his champion.
Oh, yeah.
Better than any. Able to survive that one, and the tower structures getting taken down here by Bro in return is devastating.
I think they really wanted to get that one. And now Life, once again out of position because Closer does a drive-by of the objective and looks to kill the Rel. He'll have another Seismic Shove as he's not getting out of this one. That's Hype with another kill. 5-1-2 now on this Varus. And they'll just take a Ruinous Archon. They'll grab themselves a bunch of experience, some adaptive force. My God. The Bros are really upset about how Game 1 went.
Just such a slick transition, able to move, get these towers after the play fails bot, and then also pick up that kill on the Life, also get the Archon. Feels like Bro are in complete control of this game. Night and day.
Yeah.
Compared to Game 1.
This is just prominence.
Absolutely prominent.
We started this game with bromance, and we end it, or we are in the middle of it with some bromance, and with some prominence. And is it going to be bromination, or is it going to be brotastrophe? That's the question. Because there are, you know, a game is never over until it's over. It's a 5,000 gold lead, but that is not, I guess, end of the world. It feels like end of the world, though, as Morgan wants to take down a Grump and is going to be able to do so. And Blastcone gets him and Dudu out of there. Life looking for an angle. There's a teleport to come in. Magnet Storm invested. And maybe this time they can kill the Lord as he gets interrupted, knocked up, and taken out. And that's going to be Bulldog that collects the kill.
So generous. You know, he knew that DNF was struggling a little bit in this game.
He's a benevolent Lord.
Absolutely. And, you know, this game looks pretty rough for the side of DNF Freaks, right? With his goal disadvantage, with what they're playing into. With the fact that there's a Ruinous on the side of Bro, but also, factor this in.
Yeah.
They're a minute 50 away from Infernal Soul, but it's a Ruinous Infernal Soul. with
Yeah.
Varus.
Yeah.
I really, for science, I want to see what happens. I want to see Bro take the Infernal Soul.
Yeah, we need this game to go really late, so it's hype with 6 items.
Oh,
Ruinous,
yeah.
Infernal Soul.
But just even, you know, I'd take it, just get the Ruinous. Sorry, he's already got the Ruinous. Get the Soul, and I just want to see a fully charged Q onto a squishy target.
With
and
W.
Just see what it does.
Yeah.
I just want to see the burst, right? At a point in a game like this where it's looking pretty doomed, you're either waiting for a throw or you're waiting for science. And I'm kind of leaning science right now.
I like to lean science. I am sometimes a cultural victory guy, but science does seem to be the easier option for all our Civ players out there. As Bro just looking to regain some control here. The double warded Banana Brush from the DN Freaks is just going to get eliminated. And so that is a lot of that ward money being taken down. Pyosik going to have to bounce his way out of this. And DN Freaks just pushed back. The cow is just too scary.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of these situations where if they let this dragon go, it's completely cooked. But also, how do they get in?
Yeah. By the way, with like that Alistar skin, do you think it was designed by Jace? You know, because it's like Hextech Alistar. So like, and Jace used to be a farmer's like son, right? Before he moved to Piltover. Was
maybe you know how he was like his first inventions. Well, obviously it was the hex gates, but he was like, let's make a big hammer.
Yeah.
Some like gauntlets. He was like, why don't we just stick some hex deck on a cow and see what happens?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And then it's Polu's Alistar, and it does this on Summoner's Rift. Charm not going to be followed up, although a bit of damage there. Still, closer is going to be A-OK. Morgan and Polu just keeping the rest of them out of there, and Bulldog is in such an awkward spot. Dudu looking for a flank. Hype! What are we doing there? But he's missed by everything, and Bulldog is still being chased down while the rest of the team is making sure nothing happens. Hype finds yet another angle and just pierces this Ahri. Life's now in trouble. Not going to be hit by the seismic shove, but it doesn't matter. Magnustorm also does absolutely nothing, and Dudu's still trying to find a flank angle, and he's just not going to be able to do so. Pyosik, no way to get in either, and that is going to be Infernal Soul for the Bros, and the science will be experienced.
I was a little worried that the DM Freaks might all 5 of them go down and the game just ends without the science. No. Science wins here. Thank you, Jace, for your contribution.
Yeah, there we go.
The field.
Science was already winning because Polu was running the map.
Yeah, now Bulldog, it felt like he was actually in a decent position getting some damage down until he ran out of charges in his ult. That was the point where really things started. He was like, oh no, I'm not flanking you, you're flanking me. And then the flash still gets caught by the ult. Beautiful from Hype there. And then the Infix, you know, they were trying to corral them in, and the ball just kind of burst from the pen.
Yeah.
And it really just did not pan out well for them. Oh, Man Immune finished. Okay, this is peak science.
Okay, let's see what this first piercing arrow is going to look like. You can see there towards the top of your screen, the Infernal Soul that has been locked in. Ruinous Otacon going to be buffing that ever further.
You know what's a problem? There's no one who's like the squishiest person is Berserker, but he's got health for the Triforce, and he's got plated steel caps.
Bulldog getting hit by it though is still going to feel good because like you can see the bars, you know,
I
like
mean,
the health bars are like relatively large. It's just Life's isn't. Morgan looking for an angle onto Dudu here though. Remember this inner turret is down, and so is the World Ender.
It just doesn't look the same as if it's on a squishy target. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Come on.
Alright, just land one.
Okay, he's on cooldown again.
Yeah, went boom. Still, teleport just to get closer towards this Baron. A lot of vision available here for the DN Freaks, and Bros seem to care about zero about that.
I get it. The Baron gives the extra AD. He needs that for full science.
Peak science. That is what we're witnessing. It's down to half health. But the Bros, they obviously want to scrap. Polu taking a bit of damage here, and it's looking pretty real. As now Dudu dives in, almost manages to steal it, but no. It is Humbug that locks that one down with his smite. Polu very late ulti, but he's still going to look for Pyosik. He's surviving for so long, and he's able to get out of there. Still, the Rel takes down Humbug. Morgan trying to do something, and they're fishing a barrel. Hype, just finish him off. Just one Q, and he is dead. But Bulldog's going to be able to take down the third. And Bro only keep 2 Barons alive.
Feeling like a cultural victory right there for the DM Freaks.
100%.
Science not coming through, and also...
That's domination victory, my friend.
Absolutely. And now DM Freaks managed to shut down all those Barons. And it's just the initial damage onto Polu, and Bro are like, let's just finish the Baron, but Polu's getting low. They're corralled in the pit here. Hype, unfortunately, doesn't get huge amounts of value. The first Q's flashed, this E doesn't do much, and everyone starts to get low. This engage from Life, huge as well. And then you see here, Hype's ult and Q dodged away from by Pyoshik. So honestly, Hype, I think he got a hail of arrows, and that was kind of it in the whole fight.
Yeah.
Just people dodging away, unfortunately, and it was clear and clinical from DM Freaks how they just managed to jump onto the right targets.
I'm waiting. I'm jonesing for the science, man.
So am I.
And we do, like, he does have the Baron. So we can see the peak science. It can happen. He just needs to hit a Q with a W and hopefully 3 Blight stacks.
Yeah.
Because that's peak. That's what we need.
Yeah, the ideal is maybe build up the Blight stack, the Infernal Soul comes off cooldown, then you get the big...
Then you proc it.
Yeah, oh man.
That's what we need to see. But that is going to be very, very hard to execute, and we're going to need more than 0 Qs landed. And that's what we got in the last fight. Bros still have a gold lead, but they are showing some signs of not knowing how to complete this game. And that is a worry. Dudu now clearing some vision.
He queued Berserker there. Wasn't fully charged, though. Didn't do that much damage, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't see it personally, and I can see by the health bar, it's not as impressive as we really wanted.
Is Science failing us?
Perhaps. Well, Morgan isn't. He's fighting Dudu, as we can see here. There's a seismic shove onto Life, but he does have that Celestial opposition. He should be all right. As Chains of Corruption connecting. Do we get a charge up? That's a lot of damage as down goes Bulldog. Nowhere to run. As Polo happy to tank up this turret. Hype going to be able to take it down. That is the pick they were looking for, and they're utilizing these couple of Barons for their last 30 seconds. And look at that, the Rebel Baron power play ticking over towards 700, and at least it's positive, you know?
Absolutely managed to pull it back towards the end of it, and now taking down this inhibitor in the mid lane. DM Freaks without their mid lane are going to struggle to find an angle here.
All right.
Back.
Humbug is not afraid to start fights. As Closer
wanted to
also...
see how much damage he could do.
Yeah, going to be pushing Pyoshik out of there. Morgan dealing with this mid lane, but now finds a bunch of friends. Man, look at that. He is playing on the edge. He knows the Renekton aggro angles so well. Gets himself out of there, and that is going to spell the bottom outer turret also falling. Sorry, inhibitor turret. Inhibitor also going to follow suit. There's now Seismic Shove, Umberly dashed away from, and now a teleport flank angle from Bulldog. Okay, he's out of the fountain and immediately back into the fray as in goes Hambach, and he finds Berserker in the backline. Gorgeous engage, no rel this time, and Bulldog turns up to his whole house being on fire. Oh no, it was a Donald Glover angle if ever I've seen one, as now Pyoshik has to go back to his fountain to try and lick his wounds, as doggos do tend to do. And oh god, he's straight into an arrow, just skewered himself. Oh dear, that is going to spell the end of these Nexus turrets. The Science victory is going to be concluded here as the Bros bring us to a Game 3 and a chance to win the series.
And you know, coming into a day of the LCK, you look at a series and you're like, is it going to be a 2-0? Is it going to be a 3-gamer? And you can always sort of, you have like, maybe there's this sort of chance, is this likely? This was always a 3-gamer.
Yeah.
This series, you know, everyone knew it, everyone came to the conclusion, this was always going to go to 3. Bro able to bounce back, and you saw how much more Hype and Polu did in that bot lane when they weren't getting absolutely destroyed from minute 1. We got the Science victory, we got to see some boom boom damage, we got to see the Hextech cow, all great things with Bro fans.
Yeah, no, honestly, we couldn't have asked for more in this one. And we get more. We get another game. That is the best part.
You know what?
What?
Science is expensive.
True.
So make sure you keep paying those bro taxes.
That is so true. I can see some of these highlighted messages. I'm incredibly impressed, guys. Keep them coming, though, because as soon as you stop, the bros will as well. That's kind of how it goes. As we're going to have a look at some of these damage numbers, Closer still did the most. Like, I know Hype, he had the full boom boom potential, but Closer was really running the map. He put Bulldog in the ground in the early game.
Yep. You know, I feel like there's some games you get a decent amount of value on Talia when there's 5 champions with dashes.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty good about this Talia pickup. I'm a little bit surprised they kind of just played into that one, but yeah, definitely Closer happy with it.
Let's go bro fighting indeed. Nice Teemo hat, my friend. And it is time for us to go to a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break that one down joyously. And then we're going to have game number 3. We'll see you there. What a day.
What a day.
Oh.
야, 나리. 야, 앞으로. 아래 진짜, 아래 진짜. 디테일, 아래 진짜 디테일이야. 앞으로 오자, 앞으로 오자 이거. 아래 진짜 디테일 빠져. 오케이. 앞으로 봐줘. 내 마크 해줄게. 야, 포르키 나왔어. 아트 봐봐 이거. 아트. 아트 마무리 줘. 나왔어.
야 라피드.
야, 아트 잡고 바텀 라인 살려. 바텀 라인. 미드라인도 괜찮아. 끝내자 이거. 미드라인으로 올래? 야, 그냥 타워 쳤구나. 아리 이제 집이야. 나가. 나이스. 한번 잘해보자. 스파너 좀 못하긴 해.
우리 살짝
바론대 정도?
너무 우왕좌왕하나?
그냥 할 거 하면 되는데 콜이 자꾸 이상하게 나와 얘들아. 그냥 다 벌어주고 있는데.
저기 너무 잘해 이번 판.
Yeah.
And it's totally fine. The other thing that's totally fine is getting into a draft. We're going to see the Yone band away first here as the DN Freaks take the blue side for the first time. And blue champion, Gwen, going to be taken away here as well.
Yeah, so first time we get a change in sides. It'll be interesting to see how the bands develop. Nocturne, Yone banned away. There's still Vi open, Sejuani, Ezreal. And there's 3 bans left.
Yeah.
But if Bro ban, for example, Sejuani and Vi, DN Freaks could take Ezreal. You know, so I think a little bit of difficulty navigating here from Bro.
I think Sedge needs to be banned, but the Vi is going to be taken away first. And so probably Gwen, Vi, Sedge, the guaranteed bans, as the Lilia.
Yep.
It's going to be taken away here as well.
It's a good call from DN Freaks to ban something a bit lower prio. And now it's a decision for Bro. Do you want them to play Ezreal? Do you want them to play Sedge?
Ooh,
I think
trade
the correct
it.
decision is you trade. So by banning the Jace here, now means DN Freaks will get that Sejuani. But on the other side, Brion have the potential to take that Ezreal in return.
Yep.
But it does mean that Sejuani Ashe, you know, I don't know if you remember, I'm harkening back to about 30 seconds ago when Wolf from the Space said, Sejuani Ashe blue side, pretty good.
Well,
if they can pick that up, and that might be the avenue this time for the DN Freaks.
That is looking to be the case. And you mentioned blue side, they also have blue jerseys, and both of the champions are largely blue, and Freljord is a blue region based on the sort of the colorway.
You know what that is? That's Freljord's culture.
Yeah.
Cultural
Oh, the Freljord cultural victory angle?
Yep. It's looking like it could be it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Anyway, it is going to be Pantheon and Ezreal locked in. The Ezreal makes a whole lot of sense. The Pantheon is higher priority than I was expecting, but that's going to be the response into the Sejuani is what we're looking at. As the DN Freaks, they say, we don't care about cultural victory. We are going to just lock in Kai'Sa because it's a cool champion, and that is going to be the angle. Victor as well. This feels like the theme has gone out the window.
A bit more science, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely a bit more science here, but, you know, especially with the mid lane pool being thinned out a bit, getting a solid mid laner, snap it up before we go to the next rotation of bans is important. Ahri, Azir, Aurora, Talia already gone. They will take that. And now looking over to Brion, Closer looking to match here.
Breaking the chains that bind. Will mean that the 2v2 is terrifying here in this mid lane if Closer can do okay. As of course, the Victor in the early levels not going to be doing as much to get rid of him. And you can see Edgar pretty animated here on the side of the Bros, talking about their first ban as we get into the next round.
Well, one thing with the Pantheon is it's a flex, so it actually is pretty difficult for DN Freaks to ban in this situation because they can just move that Pantheon between jungle and support. And so they'll look at banning away top laners right now, keep their options open. Jack's going to be the first takeaway.
Yep, J-named top laners have been eliminated here by the Bros. Not wanting to see those. Unintentional rhyme, but I guess that's okay. First ban here from the DN Freaks. Where are they going to be focusing? Like you were saying, can be a little bit difficult with that flexibility of the Pantheon, but the Elise is going to be the choice here. I think that Bro fans probably breathing a sigh of relief. I remember a pretty difficult Elise game for Polo more recently. But DN Freaks maybe with a little bit more information based on scrimmages as to how that one's been working out for the Bros, as the Na is going to be the next one.
Yeah, I think Elise is a good ban because Elise Ezreal has a lot of trading power, but also a lot of all-in power as well. And you're kind of locked into a melee support with Kai'Sa. And I think just avoiding the harassment in lane. We've seen both games so far in the series, the team with prior bot has just ended up winning. So I think it's important to take that into account.
Yep. So many people think that the Kai'Sa is like the be-all and end-all counter to Ezreal, and I just don't feel that way.
Yeah.
As Poppy,
Oh, that's a lot of value.
Keeping things even more ambiguous.
Yeah, can still flex in between, but importantly, a lot of the picks you expect to be paired with the Kai'Sa, things like the Nautilus, things like the Leona, Poppy does decent into. I will say we've seen Nautilus actually find an advantage in this matchup a decent amount of time. Even if you block his dredge line, he could still end up following up with like the auto. But I think Polu pretty happy, assuming this is going to go into the support role, which I think is a safe bet.
Yep, he's also just had a brilliant game on the Alistar, and Poppy can make the same kind of clutch plays. We saw that yesterday, or was it the day before? I don't know. But the Poppy play more recently here in the LCK has been pretty impressive. There's one last pick here for the DN Freaks to round things out. Looking for a top lane for Dudu. Gonna have to pick that one blind.
Yeah. A lot of top laners already gone.
Yorick, there it is!
Yorick.
We get our first one! That's cool. This has been cropping up quite a lot in the LPL. I think yesterday Hysterics was tweeting out saying that there were at least 2 of them. I think Flandre playing one of them as Aurelia, a possible option. As of course, you can reset the Q on the ghouls.
Yeah, this was the old school counter
Yeah.
that every Yorick player hated playing into.
I was one of them. I used to, old school Yorick was my favorite, man. W max AP Yorick. Oh. Instead, it's going to be Fiora. And this is some vintage Morgan. Morgan would just go off on his own and win games in side lanes on the Fiora, but this champion has historically been not good in competitive play.
I feel like the composition for Brionne is so volatile, you know? You have this mid-jungle, which is obviously strong, but also like Pantheon, if he falls behind, pretty underwhelming. Fiora, who, yes, can be a late game menace, but typically in the side lane. I do think DN Freak's composition feels a bit more stable, but I think there's not a clear... I feel like there was, you know, game 2, I felt pretty confident coming out of the draft who was going to have the edge, but I think this is a game where really it still could go either way.
Yeah, I'm really interested because this is going to be a battle of side laning. Yorick is one that doesn't like to exit a lane, like sort of ever. We've seen this, like Fiora is exactly the same way. So this 1v1 is going to be so incredibly important. The Modu battle, you know, the ex-Harmon Life Esports top laners, Morgan, of course, just taking Dudu's spot and running away with it as an Australian here to support the bros. Love to see that. I'm one of those. I'm unbiased though, obviously. No favorites, as it is also the Kitty Cat Yorick, which is very, very cool. But yeah, you're so right, Orcs. Like, I don't know how to feel about this lineup here for the bros.
It's a fun one, though.
It is. And it always is. Let's get into game 3.
시간차의 학교가 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right. The fans are loud here at Lowell Park. And we are ready for a game number 3. What a setup to an already phenomenal day. Because we have, you know, Lehens battling against his former teammates. You know, Ruler versus Lehens in our second matchup. But here, the DN Freaks and the bros really making sure we have all the information possible to try and differentiate between these two squads. And it's feeling very, very close after the first couple of games. This game, though, could get really not close really fast, and it's worrying me.
Absolutely. But you know that with these two teams, there's always that volatile aspect where they might just decide to fight Natakan with maybe one less member than they should have. So...
I feel like you just gave away the DN Freaks game plan.
Oh, man.
That's the playbook is like just open in front of you and you just read right off it.
To be fair, it's more forgivable in this game to fight without your top laner present.
I mean, the top laner is never going to be present. But I don't think Bro's top lane is going to be present either. So I guess there's that. That's the consolation. Maybe that's how they worked it out. They were like, well, we're really struggling to work out what Dudu is going to do. And so they just played out that way. As Dudu is, speaking of which, is going to be finding some graves and things like this, smacking things down, and wanting to become that big menace. Getting the good old reset on the queue. I miss old Yorick, man. Does anyone even know what old Yorick used to do? As we're zooming in on Pioshik, he has hit 400 games. Will he also hit 1,000 kills? That is the question.
Not the best champ for it.
Did he get 0 in the last game, or was it 1?
got one.
First game he got one.
Did he get one? Did he get one?
Well,
Don't quote me on that.
HLE's Toe didn't manage to pick up a victory against Nogari when they played the Yorick.
Yeah.
Miss Toe. It's been a while since we've seen that guy. Of course, formerly played for T1 as well. As look at these ghouls, aren't they adorable? I'm so interested because we did see a Fiora more recently.
Yeah. It was just too much for me to remember.
Oh, look at that. The kitty cat maiden looking fantastic. As this is what Dudu's going to do this game.
He's gonna do.
He's gonna do a lot of cats in the top lane.
Yep. Always a pain trying to fight the Yorick with the Maiden up.
Yep.
The thing is, it's just so powerful because a lot of the times in top lane, when you ult, it's like, okay, like imagine like a Renekton or a Fiora or an Aatrox, you're ulting to get power in a fight immediately. But Dudu just has Maiden up.
Yeah.
And you're not, as a Fiora, you can't go up to it and kill it. That's just not feasible.
No. And we are seeing a lot of that issue here. As Humbug is gonna grab the dragon. And saw some really interesting stats, actually. LS tweeted about this, having a look at the grub stats. And if you have 0 grubs, in the LCK at the moment, I know sample size is not massive, you have an 80% chance of winning the game.
Yeah, and we saw that earlier today. I think part of it is that grubs did get nerfed. And also, if you're committing so heavily to the grubs, what are the costs on the other side of the map? We've seen teams getting quite a lot of value to dragons in return. It's kind of weird because it went like 4 has like an above 50, is like 60%.
Yeah.
5 is like 77%, and then 6 is like, oh, way down.
Yeah, it's 80% win rate if you have 0.
Also, did you know 3 grubs is exactly 50% win rate?
Wow. 50% of the grubs means 50% of the win rate.
Yeah, because obviously...
Wait, actually, if you get 3, then the other team got 3. Yeah, never mind. Ha ha ha, statistic. I really walked into that one. That was very effective.
Yep.
Like that one a lot. I actually think that it's really interesting though to talk about like the why, right? And that is if you actually convince the enemy team to fight you while you're taking the grubs, then and you take more of them means you probably won the fight and therefore you're winning. However, if they don't fight for it, then you're probably getting a dragon. So it just kind of shows that dragons have been pretty good.
Everything has an opportunity cost in League of Legends. A lot of time, it's time, but it can be pressure, resources, tempo, and 6 grubs is a lot. And just, again, the nerfs, the buffs just aren't as strong anymore as they used to be.
Indeed. Well, we'll see whether the Bulldog's going to be okay. Does have flash and everything like that. He is totally fine, but Hype putting some pressure onto Berserker here towards the bottom side. And speaking of bottom side, 20 CS the lead here for Hype right now, as they have been dominating that lane.
Pretty sizable, and this is the thing with this Kai'Sa Ezreal matchup. The reason people like it isn't so much I'm going to crush you in lane, it's more so when we get to team fights, if anyone lands CC on you, even if you disengage, I can follow.
Yeah.
I can hunt you down. Once you get some items, you can hunt him down in the side lane if we end up having a situation where the 80 carries are left bot. But for now, we see Bro managing to secure that blue buff.
Yeah.
Just kind of has to watch.
So, Dudu not finding the morning mists, but Morgan, of course, having to invest the riposte for that one. And the top lane matchup, yeah, not too much more going to happen, but that turret is always under fire. There's life moving in, closer should be okay.
Oh no,
And
the maiden!
Maiden, kitty cat!
Dudu!
Get him, maiden! Yeah, there we go.
It does slowly regen, so give it
Very slow.
7 minutes. Full HP.
Right as rain. That's, oh no, -1. Bit of a zoom in there. I think it was very much
So
that one.
easy to last hit on Yorick as well. That's really unforgivable.
Maybe hasn't had as many Yorick reps, Dudu here, which may make some sense.
You know what? That's kind of valid.
Anyway, Hype kind of by himself right now. Life and Berserker both down here. Hype is relying on his Arcane Shift safety quite a lot, as we can see. True Shot Barrage going to clear out the wave.
Yeah, I think also Berserker ending up with the Scout Slingshot instead of a BF Sword on the recall and going the cull as well, so kind of in a trough a little bit in terms of power. Whereas Hype got the Sheen, got the double longsword, feeling good about the pressure he can put out right now.
Yeah, it's actually just going to wander towards this mid lane. Setting up for this one, as we've got Closer in the side lane already. The bros really wanting to put together this 1-3-1, and you can understand why.
Oh, and there's the BF Sword coming through, so Berserker feeling better. I think overall, though, despite the lead in favor of Hype right now, I think Team Freak's feeling pretty fine.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing how this Yorick is going to change up this game as we get later and later. It's always cool when champions of different like archetypes come in, right? Like having a champion that is so good at split push really sort of pushes a different opportunity for like a different win condition we're going to have to pay attention to. Of course, Fiora, another one of those examples.
Handback making a mistake there by taking a grub and not letting DNF
no.
have 6 grubs. You could have had the 80% win chance.
Now you only have a 23% chance of winning the game.
What is done? What an error. Did you not see the statistics?
Oh, God. Disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. Maybe the fact that they didn't lose a fight over it as well is going to help them out there, but I'm still really worried. A stat is a stat. You know, you can't do anything about it.
Yep. I mean, they have got 1 dragon and likely looking towards another if they can secure it up in 10 seconds. And Team Freaks do have the jungle on the top side, but still time for Pioshik to get down there. Now, top lane seems to be going pretty well for Dudu.
I feel like it's going better for Morgan than I was expecting, though.
He just made maiden save.
Yeah. You really got to take care of your maiden. Especially when it's the adorable kitty cat version.
I like some absent-minded maidening.
Yeah, you really, like, that is Yorick, like, rule number 1, is make sure that you're maidening correctly. Oh, okay. Micromanaging the maiden nicely. With Tiamat now available for Morgan, though, I think a large reason why he hasn't lost more plates. As Bro on the 2nd dragon of the game, and goodbye Pioshik. So that is going to be 2nd dragon of the game secured. Life now getting pushed back as Closer going to get knocked up. There is his own ulti. Oh. And just going to back away. It's fine.
Did the flash? I think the flash might have lost vision for Closer, and the ult went on cooldown anyway. Because normally,
yeah, that was really
if you
weird.
lose vision, as Nautilus, if the target you're ulting, it doesn't go on cooldown, but like it cancels and you can use it again.
Yeah,
Because obviously you don't knock them up. But there, it looked like that's what happened, but because it was Silas instead of Nautilus, you just lost it.
Yeah, so the hijacked one doesn't come back.
Yeah.
It's probably what happens if you like cancel a Poppy ultimate as well, right?
I'm
The
not
refunds
100%.
don't work.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess.
But he's not going to be able to steal it away from his teammate, so it's fine. As this is First Blood, the latest one was 11-19, and now it's going to be whatever this game does, because we have had no kills. And I think it's good that this is a slower game, because we've had other things to talk about. You know, like the Yorick and stuff, like Maidening, like Morgan, like attacking Dudu. As Ravenous Hydra now completed, and Morgan thinks that is now time for him to just attack.
Big spike, and especially as Dudu doesn't have a complete item. Quite defensive in his early itemization. Kind of getting mangled a little bit.
Yeah, extra pressure does need to be put on because the teleport has recently been invested here by Morgan. But, oh, it's a Yorick, so never mind. He's not going to be teleporting to a team fight or anything like that. What was I thinking?
He's trying to mind control each other to teleport to the team fights.
Yeah, exactly.
You go. No, you go.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be like whoever teleports loses, actually.
Yeah.
And neither of these champions can even interrupt one another if they do decide to teleport. So it's fine. Technically, Morgan can interrupt Dudu if Pioshik ults Morgan and he riposts Dudu. Okay?
That would certainly be a move of all time.
I hope it does happen now. Because I mean, it was a lie that I said. Morgan can interrupt, but he does need assistance from the enemy team.
Well, they could interrupt if they just kill them. That will stop the team.
Oh, that is true.
Through.
That is also CC. Take it all back. As Void Seeker not going to be able to find any minions here, as Berserker is going to switch towards the top side. Life assisting Bulldog here, as the Victor is slowly but surely building up in power. And Morgan, oh dear. Berserker not allowed to be here as the Grand Challenge comes through. Morgan still looking for more, but doesn't get all of the weak spots. And so the challenge is going to be unanswered.
Good amount of damage, though, onto Berserker there. And now looking for Dudu.
Okay, well, he's going to be able to put down the procession. Those kitty cats are adorable, and just walks his way up. Does have to use the flash in order to keep himself safe. It's called Procession something, isn't it? The Dark Procession, that's it.
Which ability is that? Like
that's the Circle of Ghouls.
Oh.
And the reason why it's confusing, because it doesn't really look like a procession, but it's a procession because it's like a whole group of ghouls all sort of hanging out together, and that's what puts up the circle, like the baby cage, as we call Viga's version of it.
Yeah, I probably would have just called it like Death Wall or something, you know?
Why are both of the abilities that are like cages that they put down, like the names are so dumb? Like Event Horizon? How is it an Event Horizon?
Yeah.
That doesn't make like an event, like what? I don't know. Because it's just a cage.
It is just a cage.
Like why are none of them called cage?
Yep. Or at least if you called like the Yorick thing, like it was like a little wall, you know? Like a spherical wall.
Why can't they call it Ghoulie Wall? Ghoulie Wall would have been so cool.
Ghoulie Wall. You know, maybe we would have seen more Yorick if they'd called it Ghoulie Wall.
Straight up.
Fine to play it.
And what about Shovel Smash? Like Dark Rites or something?
Wait, it's not called Shovel Smash?
It's not called Shovel Smash. All right, down goes the Dark Procession.
Oh, the
now
cat
Dudu
fight
is in trouble. Yeah, it is indeed a cat fight. There's another Maiden picked up closer. That is cheating. And now Dudu is going to get demolished. And look at it. Oh, it's two Maidens on the Rift at the one time. It's too much Maidening. No one's Maidenless today. It's not happening.
Tragic there, Dudu falling prey to his own. Well, the cat from the other side stolen away from him. And now, gonna use it to get some pressure on the tower as well.
Oh, using their own Maidening against them.
That cat looks so cool.
Yeah. Close it. Save it.
I don't think he's saving it.
Save it. Close it.
He's sent it on its way.
Oh no, the Maidening's terrible here.
Oh,
so
50
much extra
gold as well?
Yeah, that is like Tibber's gold right there.
Good money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the money they got for the initial play worth a bit more.
I would say so. As First Blood actually did manage to come down. I think it was like 16 minutes or something like that. It's very late. So congratulations to Bro for finally taking that one down. They only need one more objective, and they will be able to grab that feat of strength. And Humbug looking to start that one up now. That is going to be the third dragon of the game as well, as Polo moving on in here. And you know that he wants to ult Pyoshik away, but Life is taking so much damage, hype landing everything. And now it's Pyoshik's turn, as they are stepping up one after the other. There was no, like, how are they supposed to protect them? And they were still trying to jostle for position.
And now third dragon should just go over to Bro. No real way to contest this. Pyoshik low and actually closer, looking for a kill.
Yeah, does manage to find the ulti. Pyoshik's still able to lock down the Raptor. Does have the smite, of course, as now the Glacial Prison that was stolen away is going to guarantee the chain lash damage, as Gravity Field, is going to stop Closer from fighting anymore. And there are the feats of strength.
That's a well-named ability, Gravity Field.
Yeah, see, that one's a good one.
Yeah.
But it's not like Event Horizon, Dark Perception. Ugh, bothersome. Humbug is going to push Pyoshik away. It's Glacial Prison, another well-named ability, is going to be thrown out here. Cause looking for a little bit more follow-up. It looks like this red buff will go over to Pyoshik as it was dictated.
But Pyoshik did get a Heartsteel stack, so...
Oh no.
I think that's the important thing. Those last forever.
Yep.
Anyone who's taken Heartsteel in ARAM knows that it's worth sacrificing your life to get as many Heartsteel stacks as possible.
Yep. I learned about Heartsteel and its value from you in ARAM.
Yeah.
That did happen.
It is just the ultimate dopamine facilitator, you know? You see the number go up, it's satisfying.
I mean, I am like, Valdez and I played a lot of Cookie Clicker, so we are all about number go up.
You're locked in.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think there was a patch, actually. I need to go and spend all of the sugar cubes that you get, sort of like late game Cookie Clicker. It's pretty good. That game is actually just a dopamine funnel. It's ludicrous.
A lot of games
takes advantage of your brain, but it's so obvious. You know how a lot of games hide it, you know, like all of these achievements and things like that, and it's all about like hidden behind a game. Like Cookie Clicker is literally number go up.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You know what it is? It's like, I feel like it's a little bit like reality TV where everyone like looks down on it, but everyone has their fix, you know? And everyone is like, oh yeah, I'm watching it ironically. No, you're not.
No, you're not. You just love it.
You're watching it the same way everyone else does.
Exactly. And there's a reason why they keep making them. Because a lot of people find joy. And that's what it is in the end. As we find joy watching Shelly headbutt this turret and Bro deal with it. Not really getting a whole lot of value there, as of course Bro playing for the Dragons. And right now, they have DN Freaks exactly where they want them.
See, if this was a situation where DNF had 6 grubs, you know, I would completely understand this game state, the 3-dragon lead, but it's interesting they have 5 and they still gave over 3 dragons.
And I do need to take this moment now to remind everyone, Bro are in a good spot. That does not mean you stop paying your taxes. And so please, highlight some messages.
Yeah. I think at this point, they're in a good spot. So you want to keep paying your Bro tax.
This is where it all goes wrong.
But that's not to say you pay more now than if they're in a bad spot. You have to just keep, no matter what, even if they're in an okay spot,
it's a good point.
Or a bad spot, you just always pay, right?
It doesn't matter, pay your taxes.
Yes.
That's what we want you to learn from the LCK here today. And I think it's an okay lesson. If not, just a bit weird to be on an esports broadcast. Pyoshik going to be just continuing in his jungle. So much vision control here towards the bottom side. The Bros wanting to make sure they are going to be first to the Dragon. It's going to be up in 2 minutes' time, though.
You know, I've wondered,
time to clear things out.
if we'd be able to find out who's the first person ever to pay their Bro tax in the LCK chat.
Ooh, that is a really good question. Who was it?
I don't know.
Was it one of us? I don't think it was.
I don't think so. Some legend.
The OG GigaChad. I really want to know who that is. How can we can we scrape the VODs to find out when Bro tax first happened?
Scrape the chat, go all the way back and find out who's the OG. And then we found out it's Morgan's alt account.
Look at this highlighted chat right now. Oh my god, I'm so proud of you guys. I am so proud of you.
The legacy that has been continued by that first Bro taxpayer.
Yeah, if anyone knows who the first true GigaChad was.
Someone's just going to come over and be like, yeah, it's my buddy Jeff. He was actually the...
yeah, exactly. Like, maybe someone knows. Like, it's just like Bobby Tim, you know?
It could...
Old mate.
Yeah, it could have been like a friend of yours from school that you haven't talked to in a while and you just find out he was the OG Bro taxer.
Yeah. Who would it be out of my friends from school? Maybe it was Simon Jameson.
He was like your sister's cousin's uncle's best friend's dog.
Maybe it was a -1.
Owner.
Dog owner? Or just owner? I don't
Dog.
okay. I was a bit confused.
That was a very... I don't think...
Didn't really make any sense. Just half of what we say.
Whoa, there's a flash! They're saving us from the lack of anything. Okay, never mind. It's disengaged. Polo says no. We are not having action this game.
Regardless of what happens in this game, Polo has been stepping up.
Oh,
He got
yeah.
a lot of criticism last week, but he's been having a great one. And as much as this looks really doom and gloom because Handback's going to be late, there's an ability Pantheon has to get there sharpish.
Do you know what it's called?
It's I get it mixed up with Galio's, isn't it?
Well, you could get it.
Oh no, it's Grand Skyfall. Starfall?
It's Grand Starfall now. And it used to be Grand Skyfall, and that's better. I often call it Grand Skyfall because that's what it used to be, and it makes more sense.
Okay, I don't feel as bad for getting it wrong because I was kind of also right.
You were right in the past. If I asked that question a few years ago, you would have been okay. Okay, here's a bit of an engage as Polo just gets himself out, makes his way over towards Morgan, who's a team fighting Fiora. Not sure about that one, but he's got Pyoshik out of here. Dudu now in trouble as well, who's also a split pusher, somehow trying to team fight. And we all know that that does not go well unless you're already winning. And Morgan is making use of that.
Well, actually, he got a clutch riposte. It wasn't a stun, but the attack speed slow on a Berserker. And I like to think that, no, that had no impact. they'd already won the fight.
Well, now Bro are going to pick up yet another Infernal Soul.
Yep. Unfortunately, because of the slow pace of the game, won't be a Ruinous Atakan Infernal Soul. But it was a great stun from Polo here on a Berserker. Straight into the wall.
Where was this Polo, like, all year?
I don't know. Well, he's here now. And then they're killing Dudu. And then look, watch Morgan. Look at this riposte. Attack speed slowed. He did cleanse it.
Oh, got
Forced to cleanse.
My God. This Fiora in a team fight is incredible. Now,
maybe
the
no
largest
one's realized
gold
the
lead
potential.
outside of Humbug.
Yeah, maybe no one's realized the potential of Fiora in team fights before now. Maybe they just haven't been playing it right.
Well, it's because we haven't seen any potential of Fiora in team fights because Fiora's been terrible in team fights until now.
Well, maybe you just need to slide in and riposte the enemy AD carry so they can't auto-attack. Maybe that's the strat.
Well, honestly, you have all the evidence that works in the world. It just happened a few seconds ago.
I've seen one Fiora team fight this week, and it was one. So stats don't lie.
Do you know what the biggest loser in this series is? 5-1 grub stats.
Oh, so
absolutely doomed. As Humbug is now in trouble. That is a big shutdown, actually, as they do manage to hook him up. But now, can Berserker survive? As the Killer Instinct comes in here for closer, he can stick to anyone he wants to. And let's see who he chooses. As no, never mind. They don't manage to get the lockdown. Still, the punishment is going to be there. Life is the one that bites the bullet.
Yeah, still, I think a decent trade for DM Freaks there in the fact that they got this shutdown from Handback. Handback not opting to flash away was like, you know what, in for a penny, in for a pound.
He can Grand Skyfall back onto the Rift in 19 seconds.
Absolutely, making good use of that.
Level 16 for Morgan as well. This Fiora is becoming a massive problem. A massive 0-0-0 problem.
Yeah.
If you type that into your phone in Australia, you would call the police. So there's that.
Gonna clear out some vision here. But I think there is that ward they still missed yet. Just outside the range of the control ward. You know, sometimes it's just really unfortunate when you do you sweep, but you just missed a ward, because then you're thinking, hey, we've played it all. Hey, we have a control ward. There's no way they have a ward right here, and it's just outside the range. The false sense of security. And I think ultimately, as much as Bro in a great position right now, Baron and Atakan on the same side of the map, those are fantastic ways to throw a game.
Yep, throw ability is at an all-time high.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Bro will do it. They really would.
Do you know what Chronicler would say at a time like this? He would say, there is no way that Bro could lose this game.
Of course he would.
Because he doesn't believe in caster curses, and so he wouldn't be able to curse Bro out of this one. But he's also a known Bro anti. And so if they are real, he also wins.
If he curses them on purpose.
Oh. Do you reckon he's watching? Or do you reckon he just doesn't mind because he's a Bro anti? So he's just not watching?
I feel like he's watching. Oh, but the thing is, right, what do we do at the start of every week? Predictions. And he takes them so seriously.
Oh, yes,
there's no way he's not watching right now because he needs to know the outcome.
I hope he's in chat. Chronicler, just say something in chat, just to confirm that you're here.
I think,
and then we'll know.
I think he predicted Bro, so he's probably feeling pretty positive, good vibes. But man, if they throw a Baron,
He just put a clueless in chat.
you're gonna hear about it.
So, Chronicle, you're off the hook, and I'm sorry about all the mean things I just said about you.
Wait, don't we also need to do a sub check? Is Chronicle subbed?
No.
Oh my!
I know. Otherwise, he would have did a chatted, obviously.
That's shameful, honestly. And then he's gonna say some excuse about, oh, but you can't subscribe and create. Get a VPN, bro. That's what I did.
Exactly. That's what I did.
Dedicated to the cause.
Well, Closer is also looking for an angle. Gets on top of Bulldog here with the depth charge, but maybe it's not enough. Killer Instinct from Berserker gets him to the fight, but Life is just on the floor. Dudu is now team fighting as Yorick once again. Morgan looking for an angle. The Dark Procession. And Hype just Arcane shifts out of it. It's very cute, though.
I love that that was Dudu's contribution to the fight. Just put the cage around an Ezreal.
Yeah. I just love that the cage also, like when it's Yorick, like it takes a few hits to die and it holds him in position, but doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
True Shot Barrage, actually a lot of work here as Dudu down to 50%. The Maiden, it's attacking Polu, and the Void Seeker not going to seek anything. Closer now caught on a flank angle, but the Bros, they're focusing. They're looking for the Baron, and they'll take it. Another Dark Procession that does nothing.
But it was a good disengage Dark Procession. Unfortunately, Baron does go over to Bro.
Yeah, they didn't really want to disengage, did they? Engagement that they needed.
Yeah, perhaps, you know, when we're talking about engages, perhaps there's a reason we haven't seen Yorick support.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly into Ezreal.
For some reason, Yorick support is like, there's something in my memory banks of that, but maybe I just tried to forget it because it was really bad. It's all right, Berserker. He came in and they tried to do something, but it just felt like there wasn't enough.
Yeah, they're trying to connect. Dudu walks in and it's kind of like, hey, I'm here, doing things. And then even the fact that Bro went on a Baron and we're getting chunked out a little bit just didn't really seem to matter. Now, it's a minute till Elder. Atakan has just been ignored completely.
Oh my god. Okay, so here's an update, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is incredibly important. Not only did Chronicler sub, but he also paid his bro tax. The known bro anti-paying his bro tax? I'm so proud of you, Chronic.
That could be a caster curse, honestly.
Maybe.
Oh no.
Are you saying he's doing it ironically?
Oh,
there is no way. He can only do it chronically.
Is he doing it ironically? Is this how he watches reality TV shows?
He would never do anything ironically, okay? It's Chronicler. He wouldn't do that. He would do that, wouldn't he? He would do that.
We have to just say, we'll see. We will only know for the outcome of this game whether it was ironic or not.
He can also tell us, maybe.
Don't trust his lies.
All right, Closer is going to be split pushing here on the bottom side, and I feel like this entire game has been Bros slowly winning, and they are still slowly winning.
Yeah, I love when we get like a really strong split push champion picked, and then instead it's Silas who's side laning.
I mean, they are 1-3-1ing to be fair.
I mean, in fairness, Morgan's holding off the Yorick, but it's just a bit funny. This is a great angle.
They've caught Polu, or have they? As here's the hijack of the Chaos Storm. In comes Dudu. They're teleporting in, and he's out. He's out again immediately. My God, the AoE. These wallets are so powerful, and of course, Polu survives with about 0 health. The Grand Starfall, and he's in to the Yorick cage. The Dark Procession to hold him back, but everyone's dead. It is only Dudu that's left alive, and the trail of minions. It's just, this is a clean. Nothing to see here. Dominant Game 3 victory here from the Bros.
Team 5 Yorick coming in clutch. The Bro tax coming in clutch. And Chronicler was not being ironic. That's what we learned here today.
Yes, we did. We also learned that Grand Procession is adorable, but unfortunately it does not help you win games of League of Legends. The Nexus turrets are going to fall. The Nexus to follow suit. Another stolen Maiden will take down the Nexus, and look at that. A huge grin from Edgar, and the Bros find their first win at 2025 LCK.
It has been a little bit grueling these first couple of weeks for Bro, but they managed to get their first win on the board. They have to fight for it, you know. That game one, I think initially it was looking a little bit doom and gloom for the side of DNF Freaks, but I think ultimately they managed to step up, and really who I've been looking at, who had such a fantastic performance, was Polu.
Oh yeah.
Night and day from his previous performances.
I mean, from actual liability to definite POM in my mind.
For sure.
Like that is an extraordinary glow up here for Polu, and he has had some great games in the past as the Lord. Going to point to the OK Man Brion sign. And there's no real special ones. What I want him to do is to do the shaky hands thing, because his Renekton icon is so good.
We got Renekton Fiora for Morgan on the day. That's pristine. That is peak. That's what Morgan fans, which realistically everyone's a Morgan fan.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it is a great day of our Lord. As you can see there, the Bro fans have never been more ecstatic than right now, outside of the last time that they won, and especially that time where they beat Gen G. So there have maybe been times, but that's a real happy Polo, and he 100% deserves it. A heroic performance here.
It's an absolute bounce back, you know? The Alistair game, I mean, the thing is, the Poppy game was great, but the Alistair game was just on another level.
It was. I think, yeah, even his game number 1, I think Wolf had some great points. Some of the later game hostile takeovers weren't great, but his first bailout to grab themselves first blood, things like this, absolutely fantastic stuff. And so the Bros, heads held high as they leave LoL Park today. And I'm looking forward to seeing where they can go from here. Our Kesper Cup champions. You know, maybe it's LCK champions now. Maybe that's going to be the next destination here. Maybe Hype packing his bags, looking good here.
They got all their losing out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, only wins from here on out. In fact, let's take a look at who they have next on their schedule. It's KT.
Oh, that's winnable.
And then the team after that.
Wait.
The team after that's Genji.
Okay, well, I mean, wait, Bro wins those.
True, actually, they count to Gen G.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty good. It's looking like we might be able to work a bit of a win streak for Bro right now.
And on the other side of things, Dan Freaks, you can see here, having a look over some of the footage. As Rapid Star, I think we've seen him happier.
Yeah,
things didn't quite work out here.
Didn't really come to fruition.
It was very cute, though, with the Dark Procession.
It was. I liked it, you know. Did it win them the game? No.
Is it a bandana or a bib that the maiden kitty cat's wearing?
I don't know. It's
looks a bit like a bib. Kind of like it.
Maybe the cat's a messy eater, you know?
Yeah. The maiden does a lot of slurping as it goes up the rift. As this play from Polo, absolutely fantastic. We knew that Closer was coming up, like there was an angle there, but the way he played it was gorgeous.
Yep, and there's that clutch riposte from Morgan, showing the team fighting power of the Fiora. And here, this is where Handback just kind of said, you know what, I'm okay with going down. The damage still there from like the double Fatal Soul procs on a Berserker was kind of insane. And once again, you know, a lot of team fighting for this Fiora.
And they won. And it was slow and steady, and they won the race. DN Freaks, honestly, a little bit disappointing, right? Like, it felt like they went out with a whimper after, you know, having a lot of control in game 1, but they just ran out of steam.
Yeah. And also, I think the objective control has been pretty favored towards Bro this entire series. Even game 1, they were kind of getting these objectives I felt they had no right to.
Yeah, it was like a come-from-behind victory. As we're going to have a listen, as it's a cacophony here in the Bro comms. As soon as the fight starts, everything goes quiet.
That ult value was massive.
Yeah. That's some very, very happy Bros. And Polo, super vocal. Didn't know that he was as much of a shot caller as he is, but that is great to hear from the support player. As Hype did a bajillion damage, so did Morgan. Nicely done there.
Don't be swayed, boom boom damage voters. You know, remember the fans get votes too now.
I think it's Polo and Closer, and I don't think that there is any other real choice in this game.
I think that's valid.
I think Closer's Talia was so good in game 2. That has to be a consideration, but otherwise it's President Polo. He's the man, and it's Closer that picks it up. So there is no God, there is no justice. However, there is Closer picking up POM for today's match, and he did play fantastically well. His Aurora was also pretty good, especially in the laning phase in game 1, but it was his Talia game that really was the clincher.
Yeah, he 100% deserves it, but I do hope it's a split vote. I think Polo deserves some recognition. He's definitely getting it from us right now.
Oh, yeah.
But it would be great to see that reflected in the votes.
Well, I have to be honest. I just really wish it was Polo. I just felt like if today of all days, this was going to be his time. Didn't manage to pick it up, but Closer does. Like, in general, he is the one that plays exceptionally well. And now it is time to hear from Closer. So let's throw it over to Dia for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Dear for the POM interview translation, joined by Closer on the side of OK Savings Bank Brian. Congratulations! Finally, you got your long-awaited victory. It must be so meaningful. Yeah, it was such a crucial match today, and I was so nervous, but I'm really glad that we're able to win. No, I was so nervous that I couldn't even control my facial expression. Even though game 1 was a loss, you swept games 2 and 3 for the ultimate victory. Your champion picks and the overall gameplay was full of confidence today, so what was the key point in the mid lane? Like in mid lane, I think I really tried to make sure that I can win lane so that I can roam around and then really get that proactive edge and prio overall in the map. And in the last game, Yorick made an appearance after 2,112 days, and many wondered about his whereabouts after the patch. And your opponent locked it in. So did you expect this move? How did you guys react to this? No, we had no idea. No one predicted this, so we were all really surprised, really. And in the end, you know, Morgan was like, you know, I can counter that with Fiora. He was so confident when he said that out loud. And you are now wearing OK Savings Bank Brian's uniform this season. What do you think is different about yourself? You know, because I had been in a different team for such a long time, it did feel a little new. It was really refreshing, but I'm able to contribute to this win today, which makes me so happy. And your next opponent, you will face KT Rolster next. What mindset will you partake with? You know, I feel like KT Rolster's mid laner is really the ace of the team, so I think that mid lane matchup will be the key. You know, to manifest Brian's first win, a couple who's getting married tomorrow came to support you on site, and there were many foreign fans cheering for you passionately. So, any message to your fans? You know, because we had been losing, I'm sure that all the fans were just as surprised as we were, but I'm just so happy and so thankful for all the continuous support. Thank you so much. And that's the end of the interview with Closer, and back to the space. Thank you.